Chapter 441. The black helmet comes off, and underneath is nothing but a glowing orange, handsome man's face. It drops the helmet, letting it fall to the town below. One by one, the large figure slowly takes off its gloves, boots, chestplate, and heavy leggings to reveal the shape of a bright orange form of energy in the shape of a 3-meter-tall man with short hair and smooth skin, still floating, moving toward me at a constant rate. I do another full scan now that I can see it clearly. LV. 1082. Active items. None. Active skills. None. Buffs. Curse of the Lich King. Its status looks no different than any of the other wraiths that attacked me moments ago. Even the ghouls back in the arena had the same status details. The only difference is I can sense the intensity coming off of this soul energy is on a whole other level. It feels like the air pressure all around me has shifted, and I'm looking at a being that is far stronger than anything I've ever seen before. The soul energy reading that came off of all its subordinates combined moments ago doesn't even compare to the strength of the energy flowing around this creature. It has a soul energy barrier surrounding every inch of its body, making it seem like it is a bright orange entity. It comes closer and closer until the gap between us is less than 15 meters. Then, speaks through the static telepathy link. I am on another level than those weak wraiths. This heavy armor may improve their defenses, but it only slows me down. I told you already you stand no chance. Give up now or die trying. It's your choice. I don't say a word, still analyzing the being in front of me, trying to figure out what exactly it is. Are you a human? There's a slight pause, then the orange floating man clasps his hands together. They glow brighter orange, giving off a nearly yellow shine. Then as he separates them, an incredibly large long sword materializes from thin air. It's well over half the man's body length, and almost 4 times as wide as my own sword. It looks extremely heavy and awkward to wield, however. He swings it a few times through the air so fast it's hard to track, and the graceful swings leave trails of orange energy in their wake that shimmer and linger in the air. He replies to my question, and I see a black number 7 printed like a tattoo on his right wrist right where he holds the sword. This is my human form, yes. You know too little, and have stepped too far into the unknown to continue any further without proper guidance. The Dark One wishes to make you part of the Dark Guard. We needed a new number 13, but now it seems we need 5 more. Your friends in the arena will do just fine as substitutes. He pauses, and the only thing that fills the open link between us is static. One last chance to comply, or your journey ends here and now. A mind-bending wave of energy ripples out of the floating Dark Guard that feels like a natural aura version of my intimidation skill. It makes me sweat and grit my teeth just bearing it, but I look him in the eyes while activating all my buffs and channeling chi into my sword. Not happening. If you want to fight, bring it on dash. Before I can finish my last word, a flash of orange light comes rocketing toward me. The only thing I'm able to do is swing my sword up to block. I come face to face with the oversized man, and his orange blade made of soul energy collides with mine wrapped in chi, mana shielding, and a veil of flames. An eruption of energy comes out of the collision, and an ear-shattering crack that sounds as if the sky is splitting in two is released into the atmosphere. Next thing I know, I'm propelled backward at speeds faster than I've ever traveled before. Half of my barrier around my sword is eroded away instantly by the collision, but so did a nearly equal portion of the Dark Guards. Even so, the pure strength and force behind this frontal attack sends me on a crash course for the city below. If you discover this tale on Amazon, be aware that it has been unlawfully taken from Royal Road. Please report it. I activate wind magic to slow my fall so the impact with the ground won't be as bad. But in the back of my mind, I can sense dozens of people below me all standing together in an abandoned warehouse. The orange sword wielder watches from above, admiring his own work, concluding that the battle is already over. At the forefront of my mind, the first thing is surviving, but the town below me is still a very valuable asset I'd like to keep in good condition. The people in it, and the thousands of brand new items don't need to be destroyed for no reason. So, less than 100 meters above the ground, instead of using all my air magic to lighten my landing, I use it to change my course and make impact with an abandoned neighborhood of small homes off to the side. The ripple of stone, dirt, and mana that flies in the air as my feet make impact with the ground disintegrates everything around me for over 20 meters. As I stare back at the sky and replenish the chi that was destroyed from our clash from my core back into my sword, I see the same streak of orange light come soaring down my way. Waves of energy attack my psyche and the static telepathy triggers in my mind again. Tougher than I thought. Maybe it'll take a few more hits. The dark guard shows a smile across his face and the lifeless eyes of his human figure begin to glow. The energy from all around his body starts to thin, lowering his overall defenses, and the density of the soul energy around his sword grows to be far greater. It shines yellow like a second sun in the sky as I look up at him. However, there are a few points on his body that remain fully guarded. The area around his neck and heart do not have soul energy drained from them to create this strike. My perception skills are sensing hundreds of innocent workers all around me on every side. If I want to go all out without holding back at all, I need to get away from this town. I activate stealth and jump away in the opposite direction of the falling swordsman, aiming for the outer edge of the village that leads to the wide-open rolling sandy hills of the desert. Even when fully concealing my presence, the eyes of the man follow me. I hear a loud crack of the ground below me, then sense the intense energy and heat of a supercharged sword swinging up at me. I deactivate stealth and focus all my energy on blocking with a downward swing of my own. But my eyes widen as the dense hot energy of its attack overpowers my full-strength chi barrier this time around. It pushes through, sizzling away the protective layers and hardly taking any damage itself. As a last-ditch effort, I channel the remaining chi and mana shielding that surrounds my body into my sword. The resulting explosion of released energy throws me high into the sky and pushes the dark guard back to the ground. I open my item storage to let thousands of MP worth of mana crystals out to plunder, rejuvenating me on the spot, while swallowing a chi pill to bring my core back up to full while I soar at full speed into the open desert. Those two attacks may not have done any physical damage to either of us, but it definitely gauged our strengths. This guard knows I'm capable of blocking its attacks now, so he isn't going to hold back any longer. There is a positive note that follows this though. I believe I spotted a fatal weakness and plan to exploit it once I confirm it's true. Less than a minute pass as I fly away at my top speed, but the flash of light outpaces me easily. Once the city is out of sight, I finally turn to face the creature again as it storms toward me with a focused gaze and glowing sword. I charge thousands of MP worth of fire magic into my blade to test my theory. I swing it across my body, letting a crescent-shaped wave of dense flames fly through the air and collide with the guard's sword. As expected, its eyes track it perfectly, and its sword slashes upward to easily destroy the flames. I get a telepathy link in a taunting tone. Giving up so soon? That must have been your weakest attack so far. I smirk and activate my Red Hydra's buff for a split second to send another crescent of energy its way. The wave of fire ripples through the air, covered in a dense red aura of borrowed energy. But the same exact result follows this attack too. The dark guard swings its bright orange sword through my attack and it's dispelled and evaporated with ease. This time, there are some resulting crackling reactions of soul energy, and a small amount manages to sizzle away its own, but the energy is replenished instantly and doesn't make a dent in its own soul energy stores. A little better, but is that all you've got? Your energy was rather strong when we started. I won't lie. Even your borrowed energy can't save you now. Did those two attacks really wear you down this much? So long, Flame Emperor. I deactivate all my mana-based combat skills and focus on my chi alone. There is still one technique that I managed to awaken in my last few months inside the Titan's domain. These two tests confirm to me that it's time for me to finally try it out. I channel all of the chi in my body into my sword, continuously replenishing my barrier from my core, and channeling more into the blade until it becomes oversaturated. Held tight in both my hands is a sword glowing so white it is dripping with chi. Every moment I waste staring down at it, there are large percentages of my core's energy that fall away into the air. I focus on my breathing and stare straight ahead at the incoming confident man. I swing my sword across my body and let a crescent of pure, condensed chi erupt from my blade. The contents of nearly my entire core are released from my sword's edge and rocket toward the glowing orange guard. It takes less than a second to make contact, and my opponent doesn't even see it coming. His eyes widen as I swing my blade, but the corners of his lips curve upward as he watches nothing come out. Just like me back in Valor City, when I was relying on the Red Hydra's buff for all of my power, I could not sense the chi in Monk's attacks when we were fighting in the arena for the first time. Now, this ignorant warrior is learning that same lesson for himself. My invisible attack slices through his left shoulder that isn't protected by a dense barrier of soul energy like his right holding the sword. Moments later, his whole left arm slides off his body and falls down to the desert below. The man's expression shifts to one of anger, but his forward momentum does not stop or slow at all despite his lost limb. The supercharged blade of soul energy continues to swing downward directly at me. Chapter 442. I'm almost entirely drained of chi, but I planned for this to happen. As I watch the red blood drip from the Dark Guard's wound, his sword comes down toward me at incredible speed. I still have nearly all of my mana stores left, so I activate my Red Hydra's buff along with all my perception and stat boosting abilities to bring my next move to its full potential, activating 4 of my newest skills all at the same time. Flash, Confusion, Screech, Phantom Step, letting out an ear-shattering yell, with a simultaneous flash of light that erupts from my body. The sky fills with a bright white light. Waves of eerie confusion energy erupt in all directions, and illusions of my body take on the form of purple ghost-like phantoms, splitting off into 3 different directions. One goes to the left, the other to the right, and the other flies upward. In my main body, I activate stealth with all my leftover mana and airstep backward, then down toward the ground using gravity to my advantage to accelerate my fall, narrowly avoiding the downward strike of the bright orange energy sword that hardly slows down at all despite the barrage of distractions. I still feel its immense heat and power melting through my mana shielding, burning my armor, and blackening the outer layers of my skin without it even hitting me. I continue to plummet as the Dark Guard's forward momentum continues. I swallow another chi pill and plunder MP crystals while adding wind magic above me to accelerate the fall, getting further and further away from the man in the sky as fast as I can. The large gash and burns left across my chest and all over my arms and legs are slowly healed by my self-regeneration, but I see over a quarter of my health bar gone just from getting close to its soul energy without my chi barrier up. Once fully recovered, I hit the empty desert floor with a thud, making a crater over 3 times the size as the one I made decimating the neighborhood back in the city. I look up into the sky while readying my chi around my body and into my sword. Residual mana and chi are left in the wake of my attack, and it's no surprise I sense the orange man's presence coming down toward me. However, his rate of descent is surprising. He looks far less intimidating with a lost limb and blood dripping from his stump of a shoulder, but the calm smile on his face and slow descent toward me is not the sight I was hoping to see. The fact that he's relying on the Lich King's soul energy, and not able to see chi in its base form just like me before Monk awakened me, means I have an edge in this battle that I didn't have previously. Even if his fully charged sword could potentially overpower me, the only way it's possible for him to charge it up is if he lets other portions of his defenses down. Even knowing this, he floats down and readies his energy blade with a single remaining hand with a creepy grin. He touches down on the desert sand about 50 meters away. My eyes dart back and forth, analyzing his soul energy flow, and seeing thin spots of shielding where I'm positive I could pierce through if I replicated my last attack. I grip my blade with both hands and breathe slowly and deeply to wait for him to make his next move. Then, our telepathy link opens while something very strange begins to shift in his soul energy shielding. If you discover this tale on Amazon, be aware that it has been unlawfully taken from Royal Road. Please report it. I didn't know why the Dark One liked you so much, but now it's starting to become clear. He takes a step forward while the soul energy around his body drifts toward his lost limb. An orange veil of energy covers it, and in a matter of seconds, the outline of an arm is formed in the shape of pure energy. It doesn't grow back. There is just a manifestation of an arm there, similar to his sword. It's arguably more deadly than the real thing, but in doing so, the other areas of defenses around his body thin out even more. You caught me off guard. For that, I'll remember this battle for many years. Not many humans can say they punctured the skin of a double-ranked-up colossal. My grip on my sword tightens, and my gaze is locked on its weak points. However, the energy around its body starts to grow. Every step forward it takes, more orange energy seeps out from its core like an endless supply. A valiant effort, young hunter, but you cannot survive a single attack from my final form. I assure you, the battle is finally over. The energy around its body becomes equivalent to the density that made up its supercharged sword moments ago. My eyes widen as I realize I wouldn't be able to pierce through this shielding if I tried. Maybe blocking a few blows would be possible, but the many plans of attack I had swimming in my head moments ago all fall away as the entity's entire soul energy density shielding begins to rise even higher than the supercharged sword. After a few more steps, it looks as if the energy around him is expanding outward. Then, a few steps later, I'm positive it is. Along with the expanding energy, his body grows too. I see large bulging muscles and veins growing all over, striations in his chest and thighs, and thick hair grows on his legs and one remaining arm. The orange energy's density stays the same, but multiple times more of it comes flowing out from a hidden source, covering its full body in a massive flowing shield. The manifested sword grows larger and larger, and the fake arm on his left side grows to match his expanding body as well. I feel the atmosphere crackle and buzz in the growing presence of the monster that slowly walks toward me. His facial features even begin to shift, and his short hair grows rugged and long. The slick smile and smooth skin molt into a coarse hairy beard, and two long yellow tusks curve down from the edges of his lips down to below his chin. His posture grows larger, and his eyes begin to merge together to form one massive eye that stares down at me without blinking as the steps draw closer. As the creature before me passes 10 meters in height, it's closed half the distance, and I stop trying to guess how much more it will grow. The rate at which it does isn't looking like it will stop anytime soon. I take a step back, assessing my options, and try to find some kind of weak spot in its shielding, but the overload of immense power that comes off it is mind-bending. I can't perceive a single opening. So this is what a level 1000 monster can really do. I take another step back, then open up my item storage portal behind me. Two glossy black wings flap in both of my peripherals, as the glowing orange colossal monster doubles its size again and raises its soul energy manifested, sword high in the air. The blade itself is larger than a building, and the immense crackling pressure in the air is pushing tons of sand to the side and shaking the ground with every step closer it gets. Waves of aura hit me like tsunamis, and I clash back with my own intimidation aura and shield my mind from the mental pressure using chi, but it just keeps getting stronger and stronger. I hear Ember's voice speak in a calm and curious manner through our link. "You're in quite the troublesome situation, aren't you? Would you like some assistance?" I respond while staring the beast in its single eye. "Yes, let's kill this thing." A wave of red energy floods out of Ember and clashes with the aura of the colossal. I jump up in the air as Ember swoops down beneath me, and I land on his back. The enormous one-eyed monster's height surpasses that of multi-story buildings, and it swings its sword downward as I stand on Ember's back and we soar up into the sky straight at its attack. Ember's mouth opens wide, and I watch a wave of shimmering soul energy-imbued flames erupt out. They're tinted red and flow like water, enveloping the energy sword rather than clashing with it. The only other time I saw him use an attack like this was when he demonstrated how his soul energy worked, disintegrating an entire mountain in a dungeon with ease. As the flames begin to react with the shielding around the Dark Guard's final monstrous form, I come up with the perfect strategy to defeat this creature once and for all. Chapter 443. Ember's soul energy-imbued flames cover the orange sword that plummets down at us. But as the beast follows through with its swing, the massive blade disintegrates away in an instant. All I feel is a huge gust of wind left behind in its wake, but as we swoop upward, and I see the rest of the flames flow down the monster's arm, eroding away the soul energy shielding around it, a plan comes together in my mind. I may not be able to puncture its shielding myself at my current strength, but I sure can cut through its flesh with an invisible attack if I'm given the opportunity. A flap of Ember's black glossy wings brings us higher into the air, moving up past the monster's eye line almost 40 meters off the ground now. I deactivate my mana skills and channel chi into my sword again, just like I did before to take off the monster's left arm. White-hot energy flows from my core and oversaturates my sword again, residue trailing below as our ascent increases in speed. Before, it was still a test. Now I'm sure it will work. My gaze locks on the evaporating layers of orange shielding that creeps down the monster's arm while Ember's flames of cleansing begin to die down too. They have their limits too, but it seems the limit to their power is going to be just enough for me to set off an attack. I swing my blade downward, aimed at the thinnest portion of its defenses in the elbow joint of its right arm where the majority of flames have accumulated and begun to die out. Orange energy seeps in from its core to fill the exposed portions of shielding, but it's too late. Another blade of chi flies downward, and Ember and I fly up. The sound of a ferocious roar fills the air, followed by a thud as half of the beast's last remaining arm hits the desert floor. I smile inwardly but keep myself composed in full battle mode while restoring my MP and taking another chi pill, leaving just 2 more in my storage total. I open my telepathy link with Ember as he stabilizes us in the air and swoops back down at the beast, now manifesting 2 arms from pure energy and regrowing the long sword. We need to aim for its vital points. The head or heart will be the only way to take it down. Understood. Ember swoops down and tries to attack the monster from behind, releasing a blast of soul energy-imbued flames at its head. However, it seems this beast won't fall for the same trick twice. It turns its body the moment it sees the attack coming and uses both of its manifested arms and sword to block the wave of fire. The same scenario as before happens. Its sword is melted away, and the energy that makes its arms melts away too, but it manages not to let any of the dangerous flames hit its real body this time around. Ember swoops around it with impressive speed and agility, but the giant angry eye continues to track us through the air without fail. I grip my sword tightly, using my perception skills to their maxed-out potential, trying to find any kind of opening I can. Ember releases another wave of fire. At the last moment, it's blocked again. The colossal sword and arms are disintegrated away, and some of the shielding on the stub of its right remaining arm is burned away up to its shoulder. I could land another hit. However, wasting my entire chi stores on a non-lethal attack right now is not a good idea. I open my link again. We need to slow it down. This creature is too quick and battle-seasoned to allow us to pull another fast one on it. Got it. Ember swoops down again, sending a third wave of fire down onto the monster, only to be cloaked by the same standard move. However, Ember doesn't swoop back up like the previous times. Unauthorized duplication. This tail has been taken without consent. Report sightings. We dive down low to the desert floor, and Ember releases another wave of flames mere fractions of a second after the first attack, directly aimed at its legs. I focus my chi on the way down and let an attack fly right behind the waves of flames, confident they'll do their magic. If we don't land this hit now, this monster will surely catch on and find a way to counter this one too. It's now or never. An eruption of flames, chi, soul energy, and a vicious roar erupt in my senses as Ember and I fly right past the creature's kneecaps and back past its eye level up into the sky. An earth-shaking thud can be heard while I rejuvenate myself with mana and another chi pill, ready to strike again if needed. My body is starting to ache and shiver from the high usage of chi in such a short period of time. I've never gone through multiple full cores in just a small amount of time, but I push the feeling to the back of my mind and charge my blade up one last time. My head turns to the ground as Ember changes direction and starts dive-bombing toward the desert floor again. The body of the colossal is resting face down in the sand with both of its legs cut off through the shins. However, the growing orange glow that pulses and hums throughout its body grows new manifested limbs, and it begins to attempt standing back up on its new bright orange feet. Don't let this monster stand again. We're finishing this now. A wave of flame stronger, hotter, denser, and more intense than any of the previous waves comes blasting out of Ember's mouth, as we make a crash course straight for the back of the creature's head. It's lifting itself off of the ground slowly, but we're falling downward toward it much faster. Once my sword is fully saturated, I don't move a muscle and keep my eyes locked on the back of its neck. The soul energy flames make contact with the beast, evaporating its shielding away, and I see my opening. A final crescent of pure chi makes contact with the exposed neck, and it slices through without any resistance. The head slides off its shoulders, and Ember swoops upward while I watch the frightened and confused massive eye lose its life as it hits the desert ground. Another thud follows as the remainder of its body collapses without life. Level up, 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 level up. I hit level 765 in an instant, and Ember circles around the corpse high in the air for a few moments before we finally drift down to the ground. The leftover orange soul energy begins to disperse into the air, but some still stays stagnant. It's just like the leftover residue from my red Hydra's buff. Before I hop off Ember's back, I swallow my last remaining chi pill along with restoring my MP. Even with continuous self-regeneration, my body feels a bit weak. Plus, I'm covered in sweat and breathing heavily. I do a few circles around the monster, trying to scan it for any other interesting things, but no readings come back. There aren't any extra pop-ups for stat boosts, and no skills either. I can't help but think it has something to do with its soul bond with the Dark One. Just like the ghouls and wraiths, its status is cleared of any items or skills or extra buffs. I let out a sigh, then do a deep, extensive all-seeing eye scan to see where the dropped armor was that it shed before the battle, and located in the city along with many of the broken armor pieces and wraith essence cores scattered around from the other earlier fights. Then, the faint reading of mana comes from inside the middle of the monster's corpse. I lift my sword and begin chopping the massive leftover mass of flesh to pieces, trying to dig through to its heart. The more flesh I rip away, the more intense the source of mana becomes. It gives off a reading unlike anything I've felt before, and doesn't feel like it's infected by the Lich King's soul energy at all. I finally find its heart and carefully tear it open to find a clear crystal-like shard bigger than my open palm. I have to put my sword to the side to lift the large clear crystal up with 2 hands and use appraisal on it. Shard of the Colossal. Plus 266% strength. Plus 210% defense. Plus 200% mental strength. I stare down at the item in awe for almost a full minute, admiring the amount of mana coming off of it in its dormant state. The possibilities of item crafts race through my mind, but I can't think of any item at par with its quality that would be worth merging with it. This is my first A-class material I've ever come in contact with. With a growing smile across my face, I place the item into my item storage and turn to walk away through the blood-stained sand. I let out advanced fire magic behind me and let my black flames burn the corpse away before it makes a mess out here in the desert. Then, I approach Ember with a smile. A job well done. That was quite the battle. The corners of Ember's mouth are curved up, and I can see a toothy grin forming. It sure was. Your first double-ranked up monster kill. I nod, and a moment of silence follows before Ember speaks again. I know that soul energy very well. That was one of the Lich King's subordinates, wasn't it? I let out a sigh. It was. And now that this has happened, I doubt it's the last. Ember thinks to himself and watches the black flames crackle away as the body burns. Well, nothing we can do about it now. If more are on the way, you'll need to find a way to get much stronger. Fast. Before I open my mouth to agree, more ringing system notifications enter my ear, and I look down at my status to see quite the unexpected string of skill upgrade notifications from my body double. It makes me realize there are definitely more things than just dungeons down in that canyon. Chapter 444. Body Double POV. 7 hours earlier. I catch the transport crystal and place it in my storage while my main body leaves to check out the town. My other body double heads off to begin farming skills while I glide down into the canyon to step into the nearest stable dungeon. It seems to be a standard high E-grade grassland dungeon, but I don't stick around long enough to figure out what kind of monsters are inside. I set a dungeon walker point and crush the teleportation crystal in my hand to bring me back into the lobby of the Galeheart Tower. Unfortunately, this body double form doesn't have all of the perks of my main body. I don't have access to my Red Hydra's buff, and no chi is present in my core. However, my mana control is still leagues above anyone near my level. I place a shielding barrier up, mimicking my old way of suppressing my intimidation perk's aura. As I walk forward through the blinding transportation light, I see a single figure in the lobby waiting for me, stood up against the desk that the two lobby men sit behind. Ari stands up straight and gives me a wave. His all-black outfit contrasts a lot with the white mana shielding as he walks over with a curious expression but decides not to bring up my change in aura that I'm pretty confident he can perceive. He just speaks up, turning to the elevator. I was prepared to wait a few more hours, but looks like you came right on time. I assume this means you already made it to Sector 2. I nod, and the elevator door dings while sliding open. We board it. I have. Let's save the talking until we make it there. My eyes move around the room in a suspicious manner, and Ari shrugs. Sure, whatever works for you. If you really think you can get me deeper into the abyss, it'll be worth the wait. Ding. We make it to the dungeon access floor and make our way into the Red Ogre dungeon to use as a connector point to teleport back to the dungeon I just left. As we step out of the exit portal onto a narrow rocky ledge within the canyon, I let out a sigh, and Aries' questions begin to fly. Your aura feels totally different than last night. What's up with that? And is what Fisher said true? The abyss is really nearby. I airstep upward, and soon see Ari follow as he manifests small platforms of white energy beneath his steps. The aura may feel different because my main body is off exploring the city. You're talking to a body double right now. Ari lets out a remark in a joking tone. Oh, you sent the errand boy to come fetch me. That's real nice. I turn my head back as we're about to exit the canyon. Hey, it's still me. I'm just multitasking. I turn back as the open desert comes into view. The town is on one side of the canyon while a giant black looming cloud of used-up demonic energy is sitting stagnant in the desert. I point to it. Does that answer your second question? Aries' eyes track it left and right, scanning the massive black cloud that curves around as far as the eye can see. His ranked-up buff even activates, and I see a layer of white energy forming around his eyes as we begin to float closer. Yeah, it definitely does. Let's check it out. We fly over to the edge of the abyss and I activate my demonic energy manipulation, but use the trick to split my focus that I learned before to allow myself to use mana-powered skills as well. It's been a while since I used energy like this, but with all my new chi and mana control training, my ability to manipulate any kind of energy has increased drastically. It almost seems as easy as breathing to spot the small clusters of unrefined energy in the abyss and pinpoint enemies that line the border. As my head turns to look straight in the direction of one that seems to be the same strength as those demonic wolves I faced in the abyss right outside Solara, Aries' gaze turns to it too. If you come across this story on Amazon, be aware that it has been stolen from Royal Road. Please report it. We both touch down about 20 meters away from the wall of darkness, and he speaks up. So you can actually see them too? I nod with both arms crossed. I'm more surprised you can see them, honestly. Is it a special perk from your ranked-up buff? I thought it could only manifest weapons and gear for you like you showed me before. He nods and begins to manifest a white bow out of energy, then draws back a shimmering white arrow made of the same material. Moments later, he locks it onto a target in the abyss and lets the arrow fly. It pierces through the veil of darkness and hits the swirling ball of unrefined energy I pinpointed previously. Then, a howl and squeal of an injured wolf calls out the moment it's hit, but ceases moments later as I'm sure the monster was killed. Then, the sizzling sound of sparks and demonic energy reacting with mana erupts from inside the abyss for a few seconds, crackling like fireworks, then going silent again. My curiosity is piqued. How'd you manage that? You sent a mana-based attack through the abyss without it instantly erupting into sparks. It's more complicated than that. Inactive, sealed, or very unique mana signatures don't activate a reaction. It's how you're able to wear gear inside the abyss and not have it explode on you. As long as the mana isn't free-flowing or actively interacting with anything, it shouldn't combust. I nod, pointing a finger at the abyss and shooting a fireball at the dark wall to watch it explode and turn to yellow and white sparks the instant it makes contact with the wall of black fog. Ahri continues, activating his red Hydra's buff for a split second and letting a white arrow coated in red energy fly into the abyss next. It soars for hundreds of meters, almost further than I can sense, then finally hits something, and the energy is dispersed, making a crackling explosion deep within the darkness. The energy from this buff works as a protective layer as well. It makes my attacks last even longer before they sizzle out. However, I have reason to believe my skill and buff are not replicable. You see, I didn't naturally awaken my Spirit Archer skill. It was artificially infused into me while I was awakening as a gift from my village leader back in Sector 4. I believe because of this, the special traits have carried on to my ranked-up buff too. I turn my head to Ahri, wondering exactly what he means by this. I always knew his skill was odd. Spirit Archer is not a skill I've ever seen a replica of. After scanning hundreds, even thousands of skills in cities like Solara, Vice City, and Valor City, I've never seen a skill like this. Whatever he's talking about, it would explain a few things. I've been meaning to tell you this for a long time, but never found the opportunity to do so. There's a silence between us, but I reply in a friendly tone. You can tell me anything. My lips are sealed and my ears are open. We have plenty of time. He smiles. Well, as you already know, I was trained at a very young age to become a strong archer. Others in the village were made to focus on their specialized abilities too. Some were tanks with shields, others were rogues with swords and daggers, some specialized with medicine, and others worked on their perception skills day and night. He lets out a sigh, staring into the abyss with the white glow from his buff still surrounding his eyes and charging up his bow to make another arrow. There were 20 of us, orphans, and of course the leader of the village who took us in to train. Every day he would consume white pills and tell us to sit on slabs of black rock while we eat our meals, and even while we slept. The day any of us turned 18 was the day he'd bring us to a low-level dungeon and watch us awaken. Everyone came each time, and the old man always told us that we would awaken special unique skills if we followed his training regime. I nod, letting Ahri go on, curious about this unknown history he's hinted about but never shared with anyone on the team before. Most members would awaken normal skills, body hardening, swordsmanship, speed, or strength buffs, so we just assumed the old man was crazy or just kind, keeping our hopes up and making our lives fun despite being misfits thrown away by our families in the Dark Continent. However, this all changed when my 18th birthday came around. Ahri pauses, smiling to himself, and releasing another arrow far into the abyss. As it pierces through two demonic wolves that were approaching at the sound of its fallen fellow monster's call, he continues to talk. I was the first to awaken a unique skill. I was overjoyed, but the old man seemed to be the most happy of all, screaming out that his hypothesis was right and I was the first success. After that day, he'd bring me to the dungeons in Solara to train every weekend, buying as much mana potions and gear as I needed to buff up my mana control at a young age and level up quickly. Ahri powers down his buff and the bow disappears from his hands. A few years passed as I trained up my skills with the other kids there, and one other girl in the village awakened a unique talent too. Her name was Luna. It wasn't a powerful combat skill or anything, just a very unique perception skill that only works at night. Ahri lets out a sigh. The old man told us he would awaken us fully if we ever made it to level 500, but we all thought that was just to push us further in the future. However, there were no dungeons strong enough for the public to farm in once we got to a certain point. As each of us hit level 250, we were each given special access from the Solaran government to enter the Hunters exams with temporary citizenship granted by the Hunters Association. Takes a few years to get approved, but the process is not complicated. Long story short, I left my village right after one of the first big surges, entering the C-class exams and meeting all of you. He pauses and we stare off into the abyss in silence for a few seconds, and I connect all the pieces together in my mind even before he speaks up again. Ever since we first set foot in Solara, I dreaded nearing the abyss because the fact that it was that close to the city could only mean one thing. It had already enveloped the place I used to call home. I'm sure our leader got out of there with the students he had left, but I still wanted the closure of seeing it one more time. Once I finished up my power leveling with Chester in Solara last week, I went to venture out into that pit of darkness to find what remained of my village, but couldn't make it far enough in. I kept running into some damn giant worm and was never able to make it past. Despite the long, heartfelt story, memories of running away from that giant demonic worm come back to my mind as well, and I can't help but to crack a smile. You almost got eaten by one of those things too? He sees me chuckle and shifts his serious tone back to one more lighthearted and smiles back. Yeah, 3 times actually. One time, 2 of them even attacked at once, they're no joke. No matter what direction I came at, they wouldn't leave me alone. My arrows still aren't strong enough. I never even managed to leave a scratch. Memories of my time in the abyss flash through my mind, then I compare it to all of the training I've done recently. It's not too outlandish to believe I could make it past those worms now if I really tried. So, I nod to myself and respond to Ari with a proposition. Chapter 445. I know 3 potential ways you could get strong enough to venture further into the abyss. Would you like to hear them? Ari listens and nods. Of course. What do you know? I do a quick inspect on Ari to see he's level 586. It's a high number, but far below his actual power level that he showed me with his bow right here. Well, the first way is obvious. I could take you back to the Vice City Labyrinth and we could climb the floors to level up. I'm sure the stronger you grow your body, levels, and mana control, the better your unique skill will work against demonic monsters. He responds. Sure, that's obvious. But it'll be a slow process, and just raising my mana control and level does not guarantee the increase in effectiveness against these so-called demonic creatures. I nod. Yes, you're right. That leads us to the second option. I could awaken the power that Maria and Abby have been training with the last few weeks. It's called Chi, and I have reasons to believe after hearing your story, this is the energy your old village leader used to awaken your unique skills' special traits. Similar to the Red Hydra's buff, it is rooted in a different power source than just mana-based attacks. It would not react with demonic energy like mana does. Ari perks up at this. You can just awaken me? And I'll be able to wield it immediately? I sigh and shake my head. No, it would take quite a while to learn. And to be honest, the only source for more energy to get stronger is back in Valor City. I can awaken you if we meet up with my main body, but it will still take weeks or months, maybe even years to get to the point where it'll actually do significant damage on a creature of the demonic worm stature. Though, I'm very confident Chi would be enough to kill it. Ari gives me a curious look, then speaks up again. Okay, what's the last option? You've given me the fast and inefficient route with mana training, the slow and guaranteed route with this Chi proposition. So what's the third option? A risky yet guaranteed method? Or what? Exactly. I smile, looking Ari in the eyes for a moment, then turning my head to the abyss while activating my demonic energy manipulation and gathering all 30 or so units of unrefined demonic energy that has dispersed from the wolves killed by Ares' prior attacks. A swirling of black energy comes flowing out of the abyss, then into my hand, and flowing into my body to rest in my demon's core. I create a slashing movement with my hand, letting a few units of energy flow out into a small crescent of energy. My midnight dagger is in the item storage of my main body. I would have used it now to show off if items like that could replicate into body doubles. Still, the refined demonic energy flows from my finger and pierces through the dark veil of the abyss. I let the remaining refined energy drip from my fingers and lock away the 27 units of unused energy into my core for later use. Then, respond. The third option is using the power of the demonic monsters against them. I believe I can teach you how to wield demonic energy. Ares' eyes open wide. He watched the whole attack and didn't let his gaze leave the crescent of darkness for a moment. I continue to speak in his moment of silence. I'm positive it'll kill these creatures. I managed to crack the tooth of one of those worms with this power when I was much weaker than both of us are now. From what I've learned so far, demonic energy is the most effective and safe offensive move against demonic creatures. It only took me a few days to get the hang of it, and as you can see, we have a pretty abundant supply of energy to do training. I point at the abyss, and Ari finally replies, "Unauthorized usage. This narrative is on Amazon without the author's consent. Report any sightings." I think the answer is pretty clear then. I smile. The only tricky part is, to prepare for training, you're going to have to permanently give up an item slot. And we're going to have to clear a labyrinth. Ari's eyes open even more, but while he thinks to himself, I do another deep, all-seeing eye scan of the canyon nearby. If my guess is right, at least one of the two strongest portal readings is a labyrinth. Fisher mentioned he saw one in our briefing back in Valor City too. But I still need to see it for myself. I speak up. Before I get your hopes up, I want to go check out the canyon for myself and see if there is even a labyrinth for us to farm. If there is, I'll be telling you the secret of a labyrinth's hidden reward for completely clearing it. Ari shared his past with me, and in return, I'll gladly explain the secret intricacies of what the actual purpose of labyrinths are. He responds, clearly still very deep in thought. Sure. Let's go see. You're right, we better see if there really is one first. If there is, I'd like you to teach me demonic energy. I pick option 3. Gladly. We head back in the direction of the many dungeons and begin air-stepping and spirit walking down into its depths of the canyon. It gets darker the further down we go, but Ari illuminates the area around us with a white glow. My advanced eyesight is good enough in the dark that I don't really care either way, but the light does make traveling a little easier. A few red dungeon breaks pass by, and dozens of blue portals fill my vision as well, but once we finally get about 3 kilometers down past winding paths, huge rock formations, and small flowing streams of underground water sources, the first anomaly reading on my radar comes into view. It's an enormous portal, but unfortunately, its tint is blue. Based on its mana output, this is a middle or high-ranked B-grade dungeon. Possibly the strongest one I've ever felt. It gives off more energy than the Red Ogre dungeon back in Valor City. However, it's not worth checking out right now. My other body double that is checking out the dungeons in here will get to it eventually. This dungeon has the same level of mana output readings the other oddity gives off. However, the depth of its power feels much different, and the energy flowing away from it is in a far more constant and steady rate. I believe these are the readings of a very stable labyrinth, but don't have much data to test my theory. As we dip into another cave system following the flowing streams, we make our way to the last oddity. The air gets thinner, the humidity increases, and the temperature around us gets hotter the further down we travel. But once we're nearly 6 kilometers beneath the surface, and pass a few more scattered dungeons, a faint green glow hits my vision and I begin to get excited. There it is. I can see a grin forming on Ari's face too, and sweat drips from both our foreheads as we touch down on the wet rocky floor in front of a large green glowing labyrinth portal. So, training can begin? I nod. Yes, it can. Let's clear this labyrinth. You have much to learn. We both jump through onto the first floor without hesitating at all, eager to see what's inside. Not to waste any time, we both race through the bottom floors without targeting any monsters. I make it a habit to kill one per unique floor just in case there are some new skills, but most of these dungeons are duplicates that I've faced many times before. At our top speeds, it doesn't take more than 10 to 15 minutes to zip through some floors high above the sky. While we venture further upward, I explain the basics of dungeon physics and dungeon mass regeneration, as well as the presence of a labyrinth master at the top floor. I mention the fact that they're demons that make soul bonds with powerful creatures like dragons, and if defeated, the demons drop their cores and can be wielded by humans. I reveal the fact that I have 2 cores, one from the C-class exams, and another from the Solaren Labyrinth, explaining that this is most likely the reason the association screwed us over, but I still don't have any evidence of it. I tell him about what happened when we were captured, and how I escaped using demonic energy and my demon's core for the first time. I even reveal the events of my time in the demonic rift, fighting 3 waves of demonic minotaurs to Ari, then relate all this information to the fact that there is probably some kind of demonic entity deep inside the Dark Continent causing the abyss to expand. This possibly gives validity to Chester's theory of there being a massive labyrinth deep within the Dark Continent. Of course, I give no mention of Ember or the Void Creepers. They seem pretty unnecessary to this conversation, and it's a secret I'm still not ready to share. About 4 hours pass and we beat the 20th floor's special boss room of this labyrinth. Ari is completely caught up to speed and understands the risks and rewards of accepting a demon's core. We decide that from here on out, he'll be doing all the fighting because he needs the level gains and combat experience more than me. However, we have also agreed that I get the final strike on this demon at the top no matter what because it may have unique skills I can absorb. Once we pass the 25th floor, things start to get interesting because the creatures on these floors are nearing Ares level. By the time we hit the 26th floor, a large mountainous region with earth-wielding bug creatures with strong exoskeletons that are able to dig holes and spin their bodies very quickly to both attack and retreat, Ari starts to level up. Once I see he's still able to pierce their vital points with a single arrow, I step back and let him train solo for a bit. The 27th and 28th floor go similarly, as Ari uses this opportunity to make it to level 632. Once the tan-skinned archer easily defeats the flaming serpent boss of the 28th floor with 2 white arrows through the forehead, we're both transported into a narrow stone hallway that feels very familiar. I turn to Ari and speak as he illuminates the short pathway to show a slow, spinning portal at the other end. This is it. The labyrinth is 29 floors. Next up, you'll be fighting a demon. Chapter 446. Ari takes a step forward and powers up with a buff. Let me fight on my own. I'd like to see how I stack up against this final floor. I want to feel like I've earned this core. He stops right before the portal at the end of the hall. Of course, slip in the final blow to get whatever skills you need. Just don't help me in battle unless I'm in really bad shape. I doubt I will be, but you never know. I nod, and he jumps through without saying another word. I do the same, letting the transport magic bring us to the final floor of this peculiar labyrinth. It's not much different than the labyrinth we faced back in Solara, and only a few floors higher. However, something feels too perfect about this place. The teleport magic brings us into a wide-open boss room that is forest and earth-themed. Thin dark green trees reach up to the blue sky, and rocky mounds of hills and stone formations riddle the landscape. For the most part, it's very flat and calm. However, near the back of the boss room where the danger always lies, the dense presence of 2 mana figures comes rocketing our way instantly. I do a full inspect and appraisal while stepping to the side, letting Ari know what's happening. They're on their way. I cross my arms and airstep backward to sit on a tall boulder and take a look at just the level and skills from the 2 approaching figures. LV 707. Telepathy, Legendary Grade. Body Double, Legendary Grade. Dungeon Walker, Special Grade. LV 707. Telepathy, Legendary Grade. Plunderer, Legendary Grade. Combat Magic. Advanced Earth Summoning. The shadowy figure of a greater demon with 2 red horns coming out of its forehead and curving behind its head comes into full view as it glides above the treeline, standing on the back of a massive earth dragon almost the size of Ember. The demon's eyes are sharp, and it stands almost 3 meters tall. It has an impressively strong and tight build, wearing dark red armor with impressive defensive stats. It wields 2 daggers and stares both of us down from a distance. The dragon lets out a loud roar, and I observe its glossy tan scales reflect the clouds and the blue sky from above and the dark green trees below it on its white underbelly. The flapping of its wings ceases once the 2 touch down on the opposite side of the small wooded clearing we're in, and a surprisingly pissed-off voice comes through our telepathy link. It seems like we're just pests that woke it up from a nap, rather than hunters challenging its throne. What are you 2 doing here? I thought we had a deal. I won't kill your men in the dungeons around here, and you'll let me grow my labyrinth in peace. I almost have that unique floor 30 ready for you, so what's with the interruptions? The demon rolls its eyes and starts to get closer, gripping its 2 jet black daggers and imbuing large amounts of mana into them, giving off a growing aura of intimidation and hostility. As I pieced the puzzle together that the Sector 2 leader must have had some kind of deal with this demon to allow it to grow its base while not interacting with hunters that farm the nearby dungeons for supplies, it seems Ari has come to the same conclusion. He manifests a white bow and arrow, speaking out loud to the demon and massive earth dragon. Deal's off. The leader you made that deal with is dead. You'll be fighting me now. More intense aura pours out of the demon, and its calm stance shifts to a much more serious battle-ready one. Fine. Filthy humans, you all can never keep your word. The ones that can are always too weak and die before any deals can be done. I was foolish to believe that man was any different. It glows white and 3 body doubles separate from its main body. All of them have nearly identical amounts of mana control as far as I can see. They charge forward, leaving the main body and the dragon behind, slowly making their move. Ari smirks, spirit stepping upward, and releasing a full-powered arrow strike far faster than anything I've seen him send off in the past. It collides with the dense shielding of a nearby demon's clone, while the other 2 blip out of existence and reappear on opposite sides of Ari with their daggers poised to kill. One goes all in for a shot at his neck while the other aims its daggers at his heart. He summons 2 small walls of white energy in front of his vital points using his ranked-up buff, and the buzzing noise followed by fragmenting metal is all I hear as the daggers break against a nearly impossible-to-penetrate barrier. Meanwhile, the dust and mana cloud around the double Ari shot at that is still on the ground finally clears, and a bright white arrow is lodged right through its chest. Blood drips out, and the demon does not look happy as it pulls it out from its chest with bare hands. The creature dungeon walks up to help its 2 other partners with the close-range attack. As it materializes, Ari turns his gaze and releases another arrow that punctures right through the already injured demon's head, killing it on the spot, and the double disintegrates into pure mana. Stolen from its original source, this story is not meant to be on Amazon. Report any sightings. He twists his body around, jumping higher in the air while blocking the onslaught of more close-range jabs and slashes from these 2 remaining demons' knives. Unexpectedly, 3 of the small shielding circles Ari summons to block their strikes morph into a long white spear the moment their attention leaves it. One of the unsuspecting demon's copies is impaled from behind, skewering it 3 times with multiple new manifested spears from its blind spot. In the same moment, the last body double is thrown off its game for a split second while witnessing the gruesome and instantaneous attack out of nowhere, and Ari takes this moment of hesitation to charge his bow back up to its full potential, landing a fully charged arrow to its forehead at point-blank range. It doesn't even get to scream, and the double disintegrates away. The mana disperses, and the only thing I can think to do is clap slowly. That was an impressive display of raw power and battle IQ. I have to give it to him, Ari has improved. However, based on the reaction of the real demon's body that storms his way, it's not as impressed. It jumps up in the air, glowing brighter and brighter white itself, while the earth dragon by its side begins to activate what I can only assume is its ranked-up buff. A thick barrier of liquid stone surrounds the dragon, and a pair of crimson wings the same color as the demon's horns come jutting out of the demon's back once the white light goes away. I sense its mana control increase by over 50%, meaning it's activated some kind of ranked-up buff too, with a shape-shifting perk that I've never seen a demon wield before. As it flaps its wings and flies into the air, the dragon jumps up and, even with its heavy stone armor on, gracefully spins through the air. 3 more doubles of the demon form all around it, with wings of their own this time around, and twist and swirl through the air with impressive agility. Ari stands still, drawing his bow back, and not moving from the circular 1-meter-wide white manifested platform beneath his feet. Then, less than 10 meters before impact as the 3 body doubles dungeon walk closer and the real demon and its ranked-up dragon swirl around it attacking from both sides, a dark crimson aura emits from Ari and I watch blood-red arrows fly. Streaks of red energy are left in the sky as the instant Ari activates his Red Hydra's buff. His speed, agility, and power are multiplied by a factor of nearly 3. The doubles are disintegrated in the blink of an eye, and I see a barrage of crimson arrows crack through the defenses of the Earth Dragon's stone-imbued ranked-up shielding. It takes a few hits in the exact same spots, but eventually, One of his arrows pierces right through the dragon's left wing. The demon ruthlessly sends more and more doubles at Ahri, but they get weaker and weaker every wave. Ahri takes them out with ease. The great thing about the Red Hydra's buff is you're able to keep up the same intensity until the battle is over. Only then will you have to face the consequences. The demon is unaware of this, and I'm starting to see the look on its face change from annoyance and anger to helplessness and fear. This demon has never faced a fearsome opponent in its life. It's been able to sit back and enjoy the luxuries of growing its labyrinth with the Sector 2 leader watching over its lackeys, never having to actually protect its throne. The battle instincts of a demon that it was born with are surely there, but its will to survive and win by any means necessary are lacking. It's very clear to see Ahri's sharp eyes, determined grit, and battle experience over the years will easily bring him to victory here. Another 30 seconds pass and Ahri gets closer and closer, chipping away at the Earth Dragon's armor and dispatching dozens of body doubles that come 3 at a time. He finally sends a red arrow through the walls of protective doubles and shielding to hit the demon's main body in the thigh. It yells out in fury while blood flows through its wound, opening up a telepathy link as a last-ditch effort. The demon's voice is wavering and much more nervous than before. Let's make a deal. Come on. That was just a test. I see a very profitable future in your midst. Another red arrow comes curving around the backside of the dragon, past its wings that have a few arrow holes of their own pierced through them, and the shot lands right through one of the demon's wings on the same side as its injured leg. It erupts into a massive display of mana shielding flying into the air and red residue from the Red Hydra's buff as Ahri releases yet another arrow, threading the needle through the tall trees, explosions, and distractions placed in his way. You should have spoken up before you tried to kill me. Your core is all mine. His next arrow hits the demon's other wing, making it begin to fall to the woodland floor. Ahri spirit steps and narrowly dodges every one of the body doubles with ease, making eye contact with me for a split second, letting me know he's going in for the kill and I should get ready to do what I need to do. I activate my buffs and pull out my sword while Ahri releases his final shot aimed straight at the demon's heart, charged up with as much of his Red Hydra's buff soul energy and mana from his skill as possible, making it a strike that is a guaranteed fatal blow. I grin, filling my blade with mana and igniting my body on fire as I airstep into battle. I follow the crimson arrow with all my buffs activated and extreme speed on full blast. I zip through the trees, soar beneath the wing of the massive earth dragon, and swing my sword at the demon's neck as it falls toward the ground. There's a satisfying sound of dense mana slicing through weaker mana as my blade melts through its shielding and cuts off the demon's head in an instant. However, fractions of a second later, the dark red arrow pierces its heart and the body of the creature goes limp before it can even hit the ground. In the resulting thud, the soul bond agreement between demon and dragon is triggered and the eyes of the mighty earth dragon gloss over and it falls to the ground as well. My eyes, on the other hand, light up with excitement as the notifications in my vision appear. Use absorption. Skill body double. Upgrade, legendary grade. Yes. No. Use absorption. Skill dungeon walker. Upgrade, legendary grade. Yes. No. As I choose yes on both of them, notifications that they've been transferred to my main body fill my vision. Then, Ahri walks over while powering down his Red Hydra's buff. He catches himself on a nearby boulder as he almost passes out from exhaustion, but I run over and help him walk toward the demon's dissolving corpse to claim his prize. I'm impressed. That may have been the most extreme battle I've ever seen you fight in. Taking on a demon and dragon over level 700 on your own. Not bad. I crack a grin, and he tries to smile back, but the fatigue is definitely kicking in. The cleanly sliced neck and perfectly circular hole through its heart are signs of seasoned killers at work. We both admire our shots, but I can feel Ahri's breathing is very heavy and his eyes are threatening to shut. The moment the corpse finally dissolves, a mana crystal, bright red horn, and small black core fall to the boss room floor. I point it out and Ahri reaches down to grab it. Just like the 2 times I received my cores, the moment it touches his palm, it begins to sink into the center of his hand, and a long black line starts to form from his wrist, up his shoulder, down his chest, and stops right above his heart. He then falls to the floor asleep with a wide smile across his face. I can't help but to let out a laugh. You did well. I've been in the same exact place many times. I'll watch over you while you recover. I take the demon's horn, 2 mana crystals, and single earth dragon scale as loot from the battle and place them in my item storage. Soon after, the labyrinth begins to fade away, bringing us back to the canyon. However, the instant my feet hit the damp rocky floor of the underground cave system, an overwhelming aura of death and destruction fills the air unlike anything I've ever felt before. My head instinctively turns in the direction of the city, but the aura feels as if it's coming from much further out in the desert. Whatever it is, that seems way out of my current body double form's league. It feels as if gods have clashed. So, whatever it is, the fact that I haven't disappeared from existence means my main body is taking care of it just fine. Still, I begin to airstep my way out of the cave system while carrying Ari to reach the surface to check out what happened for myself. Chapter 447. Main Body POV. I stare down at my status as 2 new skill upgrades are added to my repertoire, and a grin widens on my face. Skill transfer to main body. Complete. Body double. Legendary grade. Skill transfer to main body. Complete. Dungeon Walker. Legendary grade. My eyes scan over their additional legendary perks, and I see that the reduction on base stats and mana control has been lifted on my body double skill now. So, any clones I make will be identical in strength to my original form, but it looks as though my soul energy buffs and chi will not be transferred. Only mana and demonic energy-powered skills will. On top of that, the maximum body double limit has raised to 3, so my multitasking just got a whole lot faster. Next, I read over my new legendary perks of the Dungeon Walker upgrade and find that now I don't need to set any exact spawn points within dungeons. As long as I've stepped foot in or have a memory of any portion of the dungeon logged in my subconscious, I'll be able to access any part of it instantly. This makes me wonder if dungeons logged by my body double's memories will now transfer to my main body. There are no exact transport points I need to follow anymore. It's either I'm greenlit for a dungeon or not. Along with that, a certain newly unlocked perk catches my eye that I wasn't expecting. Legendary perk. Activation time. 10 seconds. Cooldown. 24 hours. Debuff. 99% decrease in all base stats and 99% mana control suppression for 24 hours following usage. The caster is able to teleport from anywhere outside of a dungeon into a dungeon of their choosing. Only the caster and equipped items may use this perk. Passengers will be left behind. The consequences of using this new perk seem to heavily outweigh the positives, but it's an interesting getaway move that may be useful in the future. Once fully satisfied with my findings, the mana signature of one of my body doubles carrying the familiar reading of my teammate Ari comes into my general perception range. Then, soon after, I see them both coming near me and my double raising its waving hand in the air while pointing to Ari, who seems to be knocked out cold or sleeping. My double drifts down to the desert floor and sets Ari on the ground. I take this as a cue to point my finger at my own double and shoot a small chi-imbued bullet of stone through its forehead, and the memories of the labyrinth come rushing back to me. Interesting. I have a lot to think about. After the defeat of the 7th ranked Dark Guard, Ares' new goal of learning demonic energy, and now the nearly 400 people in the town that just watched me slaughter their leaders without breaking a sweat, there is much to do. I activate my body double skill again, making 2 more copies to hit my max while the third continues to farm skills and log dungeon details in the canyon. This time, they're at par with my current level 765 status, and the mana control is leaking off them like massive beams of light to my refined eye. If you find this story on Amazon, be aware that it has been stolen. Please report the infringement. I point to one, throwing it a new transport crystal back to the Galeheart Tower. Explain as much as you can to Abby and Maria. They may be out in town. Just have Lith send out guards to retrieve them before tonight. Going into the arena again may not be a smart decision, especially considering the 7th ranked Dark Guard won't return. Have them come here as soon as possible and try to get them to bring Monk here as well. Tell him I'll have an increased cultivation speed method ready, but he's gonna need to bring a lot of chi pills for us all to try. Whatever happens, don't leave the mana-shielded protection barrier of the Galeheart Tower. The Dark One cannot suspect I've defeated its subordinates yet. My double catches the crystal with a nod, crushing it in its hand instantly. I look to my other double, and it begins to morph into the flaming black business suit attire using conceal and the properties of my cloak to match the exact look of the Flame Emperor that I presented before. I nod and point to the town. You already know what to do. I've been thinking about this for a while. Just get everyone in one place. Make sure the higher-level grunts don't fight. Give everyone ample food and water, and wait for the mind control potions to wear off. It should take another 6 or 8 hours for everyone to come to their senses. Find the access key to the bunker, and don't let anyone else in it. I want that base for myself. Store all B-grade items or above down there. The rest of the materials we'll sort through and figure out uses for later. I reach into my item storage and pull out my final, full restore potion, and uncork it. By then, hopefully, Abby is in town and she can help heal any major side effects that Elixir has on all those workers. My double nods, igniting yellow flames in its eyes behind the manifested black mask and putting up layers of invisible mana shielding to stop its waves of intimidation streaming out. Then air steps off toward the town. I finally open up an item storage portal to let Ember walk inside. He lets out a remark in our open telepathy link while moving forward. Looks like you've got your work cut out for you. I recommend you train extra hard or leave this place in the near future. We may have beaten one of the Dark Guards, but I believe you still cannot comprehend the Lich King's true strength. If it realizes one of its top officers is killed, more will come. It wouldn't be a bad idea to try and hit our second rank upstage soon. If your plan is to fight and not run, hitting level 1000 will give us a much-needed strength boost. You're right as always, Ember. I have a plan. The next guard they throw at us will be ready. Ember disappears into my item storage. Then, I feed Ari the full restore potion using my telekinesis skill, and he immediately begins to open his eyes and come to. Where are we? I won right. I chuckle as Ari stands to his feet in a state of confusion. Yeah, you won. Now we can start your training in the abyss. Shall we? His eyes widen, and he looks down at his hands. Eventually, his gaze shifts to meet his forearm and follows the newly formed black tattoo using his index and middle finger all the way up his sleeve to meet his chest. Then opens his status. It really does give 100% increase in all stats too. Not bad. I can't sense any of this so-called demonic energy yet though. As he punches the air and continuously forms his bow and mimics shooting arrows to feel his new base stat boosts, we begin walking toward the abyss. Once we get within visual range, I speak up while I activate my Rising Emperor's domain buff, and surprisingly, Ari automatically clears all the conditions and I'm allowed to add him to my status to add skills. I'm going to use one of my abilities on you, open your status again. As I already explained quite a few times, demonic energy is quite dangerous and if handled poorly can lead to guaranteed instant death. So, you're not going to be practicing with your main body. The instant I share my body double skill with Ari, an odd notification pops up in my mind's eye. Congratulations! Rising Emperor's domain milestone reached. May 5th, new party members added. New perk unlocked. Find my friend. A rush of information hits my subconscious, and with pinpoint accuracy, I see 5 geolocation points as clear as day in my mind's eye all over the world. Ember, Maria, Abby, Bree, Ari. Ember's is located wherever I step, indicating he's inside my item storage space. Both Abby and Maria are way up north in Valor City. Bree is in her workshop in Vice City, and Ari is right beside me. As I scroll through each of their names, their full status screens pop up with health, gear, skills, levels, and pure stats down to the last digit on everyone. I try to share skills with members that aren't near me, but it shows it is impossible because they are outside of my active Rising Emperor's domain range. I continue playing with the brand new interface in my status as we walk closer to the abyss. This ranked up buff is starting to become a lot more interesting. It makes me wonder if this is what happens when just 5 members are added. Then what perks will I get when I add more? Chapter 448. As these questions about my ranked-up buff continue to race through my mind, we come face to face with the abyss, and I save my theories for later when I can actually test them. Ahri opens his status to see the new skill shared with him. A flash of white light shimmers all around him and creates a single body double. I do an all-seeing eye scan to confirm a copy of his greater demon's core did in fact manifest in his new body. I point at the abyss. All right, it's time to begin your training. It takes a while to get started because without a demonic energy manipulation skill, the unrefined energy that drops from monsters cannot be manipulated from long distances. However, after a few trial and error attempts, we figure out a way for Ahri to channel the unrefined energy into his core. All it takes is physical contact with a newly slain demonic monster. The first attempt with a demonic wolf is a success in my eyes. Even though Ahri's body double erupts into a massive ball of sparks and explodes on the spot, at least some of the demonic energy enters his pathways to his core. It works similarly to using mana control and creating shielding, but without a mana manipulation skill. Even though Ahri doesn't have a demonic energy manipulation skill, he can still move the energy around and sync his movements with his core. Just the fact alone that a demon's core is in his body opens up the possibilities of wielding this new energy. However, he still has to learn it from scratch like I did. Ahri creates 3 more doubles and is determined to improve. I retell the stories of all my past experiences learning to let the demonic energy flow through my emptied-out mana pathways while turning off the flow of active skills to not mix the two. It takes dozens of failed attempts of massive balls of sparks and killed body doubles until Ahri finally manages to keep some of the energy in his body double's core. He releases it with a slow drip from his fingertips just like I did when I first started, and also self-destructs when his pathways are not completely cleared out while instinctual mana is used to power footsteps or movement speed. On the bright side, Ahri's high level of knowledge and experience manipulating mana translates over well. In just a few hours, he manages to fully absorb a full 10 units from a fallen demonic wolf into his core and also can let the energy itself leak from his fingers pretty quickly, activating his mana skills again within minutes and not being overcome with sparks. This kind of result took me many days to master. However, I didn't have 3 body doubles that speed up training and remove the risks of dying. Plus, he has access to a nearly endless supply of demonic energy, and of course, most importantly, an excellent teacher. Once Ahri gets the hang of things and has a set goal in mind to replicate the Black Crescent slash I showed him before we entered the labyrinth, I finally take a break from overseeing him and sit down in the desert sand right outside the abyss and pull one of the isolation pods from my item storage. I need to be within range of Ahri's main body with my Rising Emperor's domain. It stretches out almost 40 meters now, it's much larger, but the range is still limiting. His doubles are capable of traveling far away and practicing on their own, scouring the edge of the abyss, but I need to stay near the real Ahri to continue sharing my skill. The narrative has been stolen. If detected on Amazon, report the infringement. So, we both get situated next to the shade of a small nearby rock structure jutting out of the sand. While I have a moment, I think this is a good time to start figuring out how these things work. I activate my all-seeing eye, then my appraisal skill, and begin tinkering with the isolation pod. There really isn't much to it. It's a large heavy metal cylinder with a mechanical door set to open and close with a mechanism locked to a control panel. The control panel on it allows a user to set any amount of time using seconds, minutes, and hours. The inner walls are made of what seem to be a unique mana shielding, and up above in a compartment connected to the shielding is an incredibly high mana reading. Covering this is a powered-down digital clock that usually displays how much time is left in a user's pod session. If I had to guess, there's still hundreds of millions of mana still locked away up there, even though Lith said these machines are dormant and out of juice. I can't seem to see through it all the way with my all-seeing eye, and my appraisal skill just gives blank and basic readings back. It isn't until I activate my mythic grade crafting skill that a few new text boxes pop up in my mind's eye that were not there before. Input mana. This hovers over the top portion of the machine's mana-dense section. It glows blue and looks just like the setting in my mythic grade craftsmanship interface that allows me to imbue items with skills, elements, and other features. My gaze shifts down to the other lighter blue text box that hovers right over the control panel on the inner wall. Current dilation, 1.2039x. It doesn't have any way to add anything or change it in any way. So, my best guess is that it is dependent on how much mana is inputted, and the dilation will increase if more power is stored. A final blue box is visible on the floor inside the pod. Crafter's Note. I click it, and a single text wall of instructions is left behind. Isolation Pod version 1.9.3, February 2nd. Sold to Lith Galehart. Craftsman instructions. Upon sale, time dilation will be about 10x faster inside the pod versus the outside world. After daily use, this pod may run dry in 1 to 2 years. Energy output and mana leakage for higher dilation is not worth the mana costs for commercial sales. Latest test of 28.3055x dilation fell below 10x in just 36 hours of usage. Stability of A+ grade mana shielding has diminishing returns after 9-10x dilation. Energy loss can be mitigated with higher level shielding, but materials are not available. Version 2.0 date TBD. It looks as if this is another craftsman note left behind by the Sector 2 leader, most likely not meant to be seen by anyone's prying eyes but his own. However, it gives me interesting insight into his crafting process. I reach into my item storage and pull out a few thousand MP worth of mana crystals and begin feeding them into the input mana slot to do some testing. The pink crystals instantly disappear from my hands in a flash of white light and are added to the dense core on top of the pod in an instant. When I look at the control panel and see current dilation, 1.2039x, showing it hasn't changed at all, I reach into my storage and pull out many more crystals. I have tons to spare, and just want to see this number rise to confirm I'm doing it right. After countless gems are pushed through, roughly 100,000 MP worth, it shifts to current dilation, 1.2040x, and a grin comes across my face, also paired with a long sigh, realizing something. These are going to be really expensive to maintain. Ari looks over, replying to my mumbles. Find anything interesting? I nod. Yeah, I figured out how to power them, but according to my calculations here, it's going to take at least 1 billion MP to get this thing to dilate time up to twice as fast. Plus, it seems like there's an issue with holding in its energy past a certain point. I'm not even sure if my calculations are correct. It could get more expensive the higher it's pushed. There's no guarantee the energy needed for higher dilation is linear. Honestly, I doubt it is. On top of that, according to the creator, pushing the machine to anything over 10x faster than the outside world is burning excess mana unnecessarily. However, it's apparently plausible for one-time uses, which may be worth the excessive burn if we're in a time crunch. I start thinking deeply to myself, and Ari asks the question that is exactly what's on my mind. Well, where are you possibly going to come up with that much mana to test these things out? Chapter 449. The Vice City Labyrinth is probably the most convenient place to start. I think over the logistics in my head. At the level of monsters I'll be fighting on floor 30 and above, each mana crystal dropped holds almost 1000 MP, give or take a few hundred. At this rate, every 100 monsters I farm will drop 100k MP, and with enough body doubles working at full speed, I can most likely keep that steady rate of killing and collecting loot to 5 minutes per 100 monsters. Maybe I could push it further, but for the sake of my estimates, that's just over 1 million MP per hour. That's not nearly enough to power these machines to the capacity I'm aiming for, but it's enough to do some tests and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm still on a time crunch here, not knowing when the Dark One will catch on to the fact that I killed the 7th ranked Dark Guard. It'd be best to listen to Ember's warning and take it very seriously. While I'm in the labyrinth, I'll try to make it to level 1000 as fast as possible. This is a more achievable and guaranteed way to gain power quickly. Testing out these isolation pods is more of a long-term project. As I come to this conclusion, Ari glows white off to my side about 10 meters away, creating another double as it seems one of his clones fell victim to the sparks again when pushing too hard on training. He speaks up. Maybe taking a break and going into the labyrinth is a good idea. I think I'm plateauing here for some reason. I raise an eyebrow. How so? I've sped up my refinement and release speed like you instructed, and have been doing it repetitively with my doubles nonstop while you were working on that pod. However, I've come to a bit of a bottleneck. There's no way I'm able to form this energy into a concentrated slash like you did. It feels like it's just liquid flowing from my body at its own will. It doesn't matter how much demonic energy I saturate into my core. Even a full 60 units doesn't change my excretion speed. Is there such a thing as demonic energy control? Does it just take time and practice? I ponder his question and realize I never had this issue because I'm able to use the demonic energy manipulation skill to expedite this process. Yeah, there may be, but I believe it goes hand in hand with increasing your mana control as well. The better you are at controlling and manipulating energy in general, the faster you'll be able to progress here. My gaze turns back to the canyon filled with dungeons. Let's head off to phase 2 of your training. We'll raise your level up to what your skill actually reflects, and in the meantime, I'll show you another one of my skills that will help you improve your mana control at a very fast rate. That will probably get you past this plateau quickly. Otherwise, I think you'd have to stay here and channel demonic energy for a few weeks straight to improve your control naturally. Either way, you'll be getting a lot stronger. On that note, I put the isolation pod into my storage, and we begin making our way back to the canyon. As we reach the edge, I pinpoint my third double zipping from dungeon to dungeon, making the stone magic markings outside each stable portal with detailed notes of what level creatures are in each one and what items they drop. I open my telepathy link and tell it to come here, stating there has been a change of plans. Once it does, I kill it on the spot, letting all the memories of the past day of dungeon diving rush back to me. Ari and I step into the nearest blue portal after this, and once I open up my Dungeon Walker skill, I feel a brand new sensation come over me. It feels like I'm touching every part of this dungeon with a widespread perception skill, and am able to teleport to any position of it I choose in an instant even if I haven't been to those regions of the dungeon in the past. Stolen novel. Please report. The more I let my mind wander, the more dungeons I feel. Even the dungeons from my body double's past memories become clear to me, and I'm able to blip there at will if I please. This is a new sensation that wasn't available when using the special grade version of this skill. I stand still in wonder for a moment, admiring the possibilities of the upgraded skill, then teleport both Ari and myself to the 30th floor of the Vice City Labyrinth where wyverns of varying levels up to 750 fly freely in the sky. There are 3 sections just as I remembered: water, earth, and fire. And in the center of the dungeon, the boss room portal spins slowly waiting for a challenger. I left off near the volcanic region last time, bordering the large lake of water, hoping to find another one of those rare mutants fighting wyverns at the time. So that's where I bring Ari to start his training. I create another body double and order it to begin farming the other areas of the dungeon as fast as possible, collecting mana crystals and element stones without holding back. A burst of buffs, high mana control, intimidation, and it blipping away with a flaming sword held tight lets me know it's off to farm. I turn to Ari and give him the rundown on this dungeon while sharing my absorption skill and explaining how it works to increase one's mana control. Before I finish, a level 685 fire-wielding wyvern comes dive-bombing toward us, but I watch Ari summon his bow, charge up a shot, and let it fly with confidence and accuracy. It curves through the air and makes a heavy, direct hit on the monster's tough hide. But surprisingly, the wyvern survives the blow and lets out a screech. Ari is quick enough on his feet to release another full-powered arrow and spirit step to the side, killing the wyvern before it has a chance to release an attack of its own and letting it fall to the dungeon floor. His eyes light up when he sees the text boxes above the defeated monster and turns to me after absorbing the millions of MCP and igniting his hand with flames. I smile and reply, "Don't get your hopes up too much. That fire magic will not stay on your status. Once absorption leaves, the skills gained will too. However, it's impossible to take away the experience gained from processing mana, so as far as I know, the MCP gained will stay indefinitely." It did for Abby and Maria at least. Ari nods to himself, pulling back his bow, aiming at another wyvern coming from another direction, and covering the arrow in flames before releasing it into the air at long range. Once it hits the next incoming red wyvern, it explodes into a wall of fire, but just like the other, Ari needs to land another direct hit to kill it completely. As its corpse falls to the floor, and Ari absorbs its MCP, I speak up again, pointing to the center of the dungeon. The closer we get to the middle, the stronger the monsters will get. I know you're able to one-shot all of these, even the max-leveled ones with your Red Hydra's buff, but that isn't the goal. We'll be working on your base-level stats, raising your mana control, and taking advantage of my skill while you have the chance. He nods as I go on. So, we'll work our way to the center of this dungeon, but after that, I'll be leaving you behind with my body double to climb higher. I might have really pissed off the Dark One while you were training in the labyrinth, so I need to get a lot stronger and fast. Ares' eyes widen. The Dark One? You mean the Sector 1 leader Lith has contracted us all to kill? What did you do? How strong? It's a long story, and I have no idea of its actual strength, but I do know you wouldn't even stand a chance against any of its guards in your current form. Honestly, neither would I. If I knew what was coming, trust me, I'd explain. The only thing we can do right now is train and wait for a response from Valor City. I already sent a double out there to retrieve our teammates. I assumed Ari would ask more questions or be more concerned, but his response is both surprising and exactly what I was hoping for at the same time. Well, looks like you've got it all handled. All we can do now is train, right? No point in wasting any more time. I nod, air stepping upward, and turning my direction toward the center of the dungeon. Ari follows and the wyvern hunt begins. We occasionally cross paths with my dungeon walking body double as it blips around killing everything in its path. Sometimes, I even feel it leaving this dungeon to farm lower floors while it waits for more monsters to respawn. Meanwhile, I watch Ari kill wyvern after wyvern with his arrows, only having to use 2 MP potions after over 40 solid kills. It takes just over an hour, but we make it to the center of the dungeon and Ari reaches level 741. It takes him 3 to 4 shots to kill most of the peak-level monsters on this floor, but none of them have managed to land a scratch on him just yet. When 2 or 3 team up together, Ari has to go all out, and a few times I've seen the glint of the Red Hydra's buff start to flare in his eyes, but he has pulled through and managed to win every battle without using it, and not once have I had to step in. Ari does look a bit tired, but I'm sure he has a few hours of work left in him. So, as we stop in front of the large gray swirling boss room portal, wyverns of many different elements at the highest of levels continuously swarm down and attack. My body double comes back to stand by us too, and I turn to the portal. You still have a few more levels to gain before you hit your limit. Farming with my absorption perk would be more beneficial of course, but I've used up enough valuable time already and need to leave. My double will stay with you and farm in this dungeon until you hit your max. Jump up to the next floor if you think you're ready. He nods and I walk through the portal to face the 30th floor boss. Chapter 450. The transport magic around me disappears, and I stare out at a marshland of deep swampy water, lush green trees, and flickering blue flames oddly staying lit on top of the water and not spreading to the greenery. My eyes lock onto the one and only appraisal reading in this whole boss room, and I dungeon walk over to it without wasting a second. The bright blue scales and glowing sharp eyes of a level 789 blue wyvern boss lock onto me, and I see its mana shielding cover its entire body while it prepares to send waves of blue flames my way, but I can tell this monster is no match for me. Using only my mana control, I take my sword from my storage, activate my buffs, and release a thin blade of flames down on the beast below me. The crescent of flames splits it in half the long way, and even separates the marshland below, evaporating water and destroying trees for over 20 meters in all directions. The water soon flows back to its natural state as the corpse lies in 2 pieces on the floor. There isn't even another sound to escape the monster's mouth. All I hear are 2 level-up notifications, bringing me to level 767 while I absorb its available MCP. As the body dissolves away into the marsh, a bright blue crystal is left behind in its place, and it makes the water bubble and churn around it. As my appraisal skill locks in a reading to find that it's a fire stone, I can't help but let out a chuckle while opening an item storage portal and letting it fall inside. Really? I tried to find one of these for hours. All I had to do was face the boss room. I roll my eyes as the transport magic takes me to the next floor. Level up X82. +1 PPX6. plus 722 mental strength, plus 816 strength, plus 146, 110, 205 MCP. Iron Fist, legendary grade. The next 5 floors move by very quickly. I make it to level 849 without breaking a sweat, or even having to use any of my chi. Using Dungeon Walker and enemy detection, I'm able to pinpoint mobs near my level and instantly kill them, teleporting around a dungeon and clearing every monster inside it in less than 10 minutes per floor. I try to kill in ascending order to maximize the amount of PP gains I can. Even so, the process is very quick. I've been desperately needing to bring my level up to my ability for a long time now. It feels good to go all out. The rush of constant level ups and base stats rising is a great sensation. One notable floor on my way up is the 33rd. It has an elite form of Yetis that all wield extreme ice magic. They drop element stones every 30 or so kills. Unfortunately, my absorption skill isn't high enough in proficiency to upgrade advanced to extreme skills yet, but based on my speedy progression here, I can tell I'll be back here soon enough. However, on the 34th floor, I came across Earth Golem monsters with a skill called Iron Fist. It is a form of body hardening that only forms around the user's hands and greatly increases the force, impact, and hardness of a punch in hand-to-hand combat. I absorb it, but as hand-to-hand isn't my normal fighting style, I don't plan to use it very much. Level up, X67. Plus 1 PP X4. Plus 190. 990. 345 MCP. After beating the 36th and 37th floors without the use of any chi either, one-shotting everything in my path, and reaching level 916, the 38th floor comes along, and I finally face opponents that give me a hint of trouble. Eerily familiar massive worms with circular serrated teeth come flying out of the sandy dungeon floor, somehow locking onto my mana signature wherever I fly above the surface. They're all easily 30 to 50 meters long and over 5 meters in diameter, some even reaching close to 10. Every monster in this 38th floor is between levels 932 and 950 and have the same 3 skills. Body Hardening, legendary grade. Extreme Stamina, legendary grade. Combat Magic, Advanced Earth Summoning. I'm very surprised when one of my full-powered mana blades doesn't make it all the way through one of their hardened skins. With a combination of all its skills, there's a thick white glow that surrounds the monster, and it flows through the sandy dungeon region like water as it uses its earth manipulation skill to move quickly away. I send blade after blade at it from a distance, not wanting to get too close, but despite the half a dozen deadly slashes in a single area, and its bodily fluids leaking behind it, the enormous worm creature doesn't give up. Every chance it gets, the beast chomps its spinning teeth high in the sky to try and catch me. But my speed and agility are still far too much for it to stand any chance. After 8 full-powered hits, the creature finally meets its end. Level up. I absorb its MCP and Extreme Stamina legendary grade, testing out its capabilities, and realize it's a resource-converting skill. The skill allows the user to heal their HP by 10%, converting exact MP points to HP, only following an enemy attack that lands damage. It can be used an unlimited amount of times, as long as the user gets attacked again. Cannot be used if the user has not taken any damage from any enemy. The author's content has been appropriated. Report any instances of this story on Amazon. After reading its description, the white glows and incredibly tough defenses make sense now. This is a very odd conditional skill, but one that will definitely come in handy for me in the heat of tough battles. Level up, X29. Plus 1 PPX2. Plus 10-15 defense. Plus 113060. 399 MCP. It takes well over 2 hours to finally reach level 946, even going all out. This was one of my most troublesome dungeons to take down in this run so far. Some of the strongest worms in here took upward of 10 hits to defeat, and the spawn rate isn't very fast. Less than 20 worms are available in the dungeon at any one given time, and it takes over 30 minutes for each of them to return. I challenged the boss room even though I'm 4 levels away from maximizing my efficiency. It may take another few hours if I try to grind it out perfectly. Level up. as I hit level 947 and teleport onto the 39th floor to be hit with an unexpected sweet scent of honey and a cool breeze. Rolling hills, colorful wildlife like flowers, bushes and trees, and endless grasslands fill my vision. However, my moment of peace is rudely broken as I sense 9 figures in this dungeon, all between levels 965 and 980. There's a 10th very far away at level 989, but it seems to be an outlier. I teleport to the closest one with my sword ready, and I see another familiar creature staring back at me with a bull-like face, long red horns, tough skin with matted fur, wielding 2 massive silver axes, and red eyes filled with rage triggered by instinct on sight. A minotaur larger than any I've ever seen runs forward at me, glowing blue, golden, and coating its skin in a metallic shimmer. I take a look at its skill list. Extreme Strength, Legendary Grade. Extreme Speed, Legendary Grade. Body Hardening, Legendary Grade. I activate my own buffs and speed away from its incoming dual axes with haste, letting them sink into the dungeon floor and send shockwaves through the ground as I air-step up in the air to admire the pure force and power of this beast. It's at least 8 or 9 meters tall, and bulging with muscles, layered with mana shielding higher than anything I've ever witnessed on a natural being. The minotaurs I've faced before were 3 or 4 meters tall at most, some mutants reaching upward of 5. So this must be some evolved form. I release a full-powered wave of flames from my blade similar to the ones that took out the worms on the floor below in a few hits, but the minotaur takes it head-on with both of its silver axes, letting out a roar while dispersing my flames into the air, not receiving a single scratch. I'm sure I could split this monster in 2 using chi without batting an eye, but I don't have any replacement chi pills left, so I'll try not to use any if I don't have to. I activate Phantom Step while the monster charges my way with blades ready again, jumping in 3 different directions while using stealth to conceal my main body and dungeon walk to the creature's blind spot. I use earth magic to make the earth beneath its feet grasp its legs tight in an instant, stopping its mobility, then use bind to make the dark purple hand from my back manifest and grow large enough to hold the beast in place. Once it's helplessly locked in a compromised position, I let spears of ice and earth rain down on it from above while swinging my blade over and over at point-blank range to release crescents of fire at its unprotected back. The explosions of shielding, painful roars, and valiant effort it puts up against my restraints are impressive. The shackles at its feet made of earth magic are destroyed, and it even manages to break free from my binding hand. But the ruthless barrage of attacks that follows is far too much for the monster to survive through. A crater in the floor is formed as the hailstorm of ice and earth batter the monster's body, diminishing its mana shielding and destroying its armor. The faint golden glow of what seems like a ranked-up buff begins to activate, but it is far too late to save this creature now. I don't stop until I hear a notification in my inner ear. Level up. You were a tough one. Its mana shielding is pretty similar in basic strength to my own. It just lacks the ability to indefinitely replenish its MP and use a variety of offensive skills to the same degree. I have to keep this in mind and stay on my toes moving forward. I'm facing seriously strong and fairly intelligent opponents now. One wrong step and I could actually get injured. I need to always make the first move and take control of each battle before they even start. Level up, X4. I defeat the other 8 minotaurs of similar level and make it to level 952. Leaving only one more in this dungeon, the outlier at level 989. I teleport near it and scan its skills. Combat Magic, Extreme Fire Summoning, Extreme Strength, Legendary Grade, Extreme Speed, Special Grade, Body Hardening, Special Grade. The Minotaur is even larger, easily over 10 meters. Its axes are over 3 times the size of my body, and left behind in its footsteps are black flames that have destroyed the meadows and rolling hills of the beautiful landscape. I take no time admiring the beast, as I know mutants always have extra tricks up their sleeves. I have to go all out on the first move. I use full-powered water magic to shoot plumes of its element's worst weakness all around it, while forming spears of rock and ice, manipulating them with careful use of telekinesis and mana manipulation to shower it with lethal strikes from all sides. I'm using stealth throughout all of this, so my opponent has not even seen me yet. It is only faced with my waves of confusion, intimidation, and furious elemental attacks. An explosive shockwave of black flames erupts from the monster as it fends off my attacks as best it can. I dungeon walk around it at erratic angles, shooting off full-powered mana blades at a safe distance. Just feeling the heat of its flames from over 20 meters away feels like I'm plunging into the depths of a volcano. It seems as if many of my attacks are being eaten up by its pitch-black flames before they even hit its body, but the loud roars and explosions of mana shielding after every occasional high-powered attack make me think my relentless barrage is doing something useful. However, I wait nearly 4 times as long as the base mobs in this dungeon. But the creature isn't giving up. Its rage only seems to get stronger, and I watch an aura of red energy begin to surround its body as I sense its mana control multiplying by the second. My eyes widen, and I immediately imbue my blade with chi. That's enough. I'm not dealing with whatever you're about to unleash. As I airstep in, charging my blade hotter and hotter with dense white chi, the mutant's ranked-up buff begins to obliterate all of the mana-based attacks I was previously throwing at it. The ice shards melt away before making contact. My water beams evaporate into thin air, and my rock spears melt to lava as it hits its outer aura. Even my final mana blade rebounds off its wall of red aura. However, in a single slash, my blade covered in chi rips through its crimson veil, pushes its black flames aside, and slices right through its neck, defeating the monster before it can break through to release its full strength. Level up. Its body falls limp and its head sticks into the dirt floor upside down, held up by its curved horns a few meters off the ground. I whisper under my breath down the corpse after the loud thud. That was a close one. I'll admit you were pretty strong. You're the first pure mana being that has forced me to use chi at my current level. I reach level 953 and absorb its MCP, then walk over to its corpse as its body dissolves away. A large black flaming stone is left behind. Another unique element stone too. This labyrinth just keeps getting better. It's the second highest mana rating I've ever felt come off of a monster's loot drop, only second to the A-class colossal I fought with Ember out in the desert. After admiring the hot black flames that ripple off of it, thinking of the crafts I could do with a stone like this, I throw it into my item storage for later. I slowly walk out of the massive blackened crater and open up my enemy detection skill to check if any new mobs have spawned back. There were only 10 on the whole floor, but I will admit they were incredibly strong. No more have spawned back in yet, so I'm all alone on the 39th floor. I make my way over to the boss room portal at the back of the dungeon, thinking about whether or not I should wait for these beasts to respawn to grind out a few more levels, or challenge the boss and move up to the 40th floor right now. Chapter 451. I decide to wait to see how long the respawn rate on this floor is. Based on what I've experienced in labyrinths before, every 20 floors there's a major boss room fight, separating the floors and protecting the dragon and demon up top and limiting the number of hunters that can travel in. If this guess is correct, and another guardian is placed there, defeating the 39th floor boss may trigger a cooldown clock just like the lower floor boss does. So, just to be safe, I won't challenge the boss room here until I'm certain I'll be going up much further. I'm pretty sure whatever is on that next floor is going to be above level 1000, so I'd like to get as close as I can to that level 2 beforehand, and farming these minotaurs will do just that. I start dungeon walking to other floors and clearing them out in the meantime to farm MCP and extra MP crystals to find that it takes just under half an hour for the 11 mobs to spawn back in. Out of the 11, 10 are normal base level mobs and 1 is a mutant with extreme fire magic again at level 985. I go through the same procedure, taking out the base mobs with pure mana based attacks, and using a chi-infused strike to subjugate the final mutant. The fact that I'm not having to send slashes out of my blade leaves most of the chi in my possession, so I'm barely using any, but still, it is some. The small percent of my chi base being used up each time is worth it as far as I'm concerned. Even if my level gains are slow, the mutant drops another firestone, making me wonder if I am just extra lucky today, or if its drop rate is seriously 100%. My level hits 959, and I continue to farm on floors 31 to 38, collecting loot, elemental stones, mana crystals, and continuing to gain MCP while I wait for the 30-minute-long respawn timer to reset. I even check on Ari a few times, letting him use my absorption skill to farm MCP from the 30th floor boss room. He's been farming there for high-level kills and has reached level 790. To my surprise, each time I come back, the Wyvern boss is a different kind of mutant, dropping many unique element stones such as red earth stones and a grayish-brown tinted water stone. Once I go back, 9 mobs spawn on the 39th floor this time. 8 of them are base level while 1 is a mutant at level 992. It seems the levels and number of them vary. The fewer there are, the higher the mutant's level will be, but overall it is pretty consistent. I clear the floor again, reaching level 963, and the mutant drops a 3rd element stone. I come to the conclusion that I've really hit a gold mine here, a nearly A-ranked unique element stone drop every 30 minutes. These stones are priceless treasures, and I'll be able to farm a nearly endless amount of them. I repeat this process 7 more times, boosting Ares mana control by over 100 million MCP, and raising my level to 988 while collecting even more rare element stones. I hold 9 in total in my item storage. Even so, it's been a little over 6 hours since I left the town back in Sector 2. If it was worth the time spent, I would continue farming for levels, but even the strongest mutants hardly pass level 991 to 993 while the weaker ones range from 985 to 987. It's not guaranteed that I'll even gain a single level if I come back to farm after waiting upward of 30 minutes and the mutants are a lower level than I am. I should be wrapping things up soon, and the fact that I haven't heard any word back from my body doubles about the situation in Valor City. Retrieving my teammates before they face off in the arena doesn't settle well for me. They're either taking their sweet time coming back, or something is not going exactly to plan. My body double would have killed itself if there was anything urgent, so whatever is happening, it's being handled just fine. My best course of action now is to just challenge a higher floor and reach level 1000 before another Dark Guard shows up. So that's exactly what I decide to do. Trying to grind out more levels on this 39th floor will take far too long for my liking. A little push is exactly what I need. I dungeon walk down to meet Ari one more time to let him know my plans, and we both agree this is a good time for him to end his training session and go back to the town in Sector 2. My body double transfers the millions of MP worth of crystals and loot it's farmed over the last few hours to me, and I place it in my item storage for safekeeping. Then, it brings Ari back to the dungeons in the canyon to wait for my return after I finish with this final floor. Minutes after they leave, I feel the memories of my double flood back into me. My other 2 are busy, so I'd still like to have one as backup. Unauthorized tail usage. If you spot this story on Amazon, report the violation. This makes me think. Although I could ask Ember for assistance moving forward, and we'd most likely wipe the floor with any opponent using his soul energy cleansing flames, I'm determined to reach level 1000 on my own. Relying on my allies is a great backup plan if needed, but ensuring that my own strength is enough is more important to me. With this in mind, I dungeon walk back up to floor 39 and jump through the boss room portal. Wasting no time at all, I imbue my sword with chi and slice the level 996 Minotaur boss in half before it's even able to activate its ranked up buff. Level up. I hit level 989. The mutants on the actual floor put up more of a fight. I chuckle to myself and store its massive mana crystal along with 2 shimmering silver axes with plus 170% strength buffs on them into my item storage and wait for the transfer magic to bring me up to the next floor. Once the white flash fills my vision and ceases, leaving me in an endless dirt pit with no exit portal in sight, I activate my perception skills and confirm that this is a boss room just like the 20th floor. The sky above me is dark, almost black, and the dirt pit I'm stood in slants upward at a very slight incline for about 500 meters on all sides around me. It's a very plain and simple boss room, but it tells me whatever monster guards it relies on its own strength and battle strategies rather than any environmental advantages. A single status pops up in my mind's eye as the figure of a human walks toward me with his arms crossed. He seems to be a bit taller than a normal human, roughly 2 meters, but the proportions are not oversized like the human form of the colossal I faced before. He has black boots, blue jeans, a worn-out white t-shirt, and bulging muscles that look like they're tearing these pieces of clothing at the seams. His skin is light brown, his hair is dark black, and his sideburns are trimmed up almost as sharp as his stare. Static electricity ripples around him with every footstep he takes closer to me, and I see a shimmering gold collar made of soul energy wrapped around his neck. The arcs of electricity grow larger and larger the closer he gets, and the golden collar gives off an eerie glow similar to an item I've only seen one time before. It feels just like the golden ring I saw around the Vice-Region Director's finger. The depths of this power are evil and seemingly limitless. I do a full inspect and appraisal scan. LV 1101. Active items. None. Active skills. Combat magic. Extreme lightning summoning. Intimidation. Legendary grade. Bloodlust. Special grade. Buffs. Domain of terror hidden ability. The Sun God's curse mark. A middle-aged man's confident and arrogant voice echoes through the boss room as the figure walks closer at a slow and steady rate. Well, it's been ages since I got a challenger. Who are you? A rogue hunter. An association plant testing to see if I haven't gotten rusty or... The energy collar around his neck glows bright golden yellow, and soul energy flows off of it, covering the man's eyes as a red aura of the bloodlust skill he has activates and turns a shade of orange when it reacts with the golden aura that leaks from the collar. A demon? With 2 cores. He smiles and starts to laugh, letting the golden energy from the collar envelop his whole body to create a veil of shielding around him. The shape of the energy deforms around his hands and feet, shaping what look to be claws and paws of soul energy. Whoever or whatever you are, it doesn't matter to me. I am the guardian of the 40th floor. You will not defeat me, I guarantee it. He continues to walk forward at a slow and steady rate, then finally stops about 10 meters in front of me. The golden glow around him gets denser and charged up with more and more soul energy, until its shielding becomes difficult to see through. His aura increases to shine brightly, and the manifestation of sharp wolf-like claws grow more defined on his hands as he points them at me in a fighting stance with intent to strike. I stare back at him, boosting up all my buffs to their full potential to match his intensity, imbue my sword full with hot chi, and prepare for the being to make a move. A bright wave of golden light bursts outward, increasing the size of his aura by many times, showing the activation of his intimidation skill erupt and run rampant through the entire boss room. The arcs of yellow and white electricity grow larger and larger as well, expanding with this display and searing black holes into the dirt ground every time they hit a concentrated point. I clash back with an intimidation and confusion skill barrage of my own, igniting my body in flames that burn dark crimson, making a wall of heat surround me. The instant I do, the man lunges forward and I match his movements. I swing my chi-infused sword across my body but don't hold back or test my limits and go all out from the start. There's only so many times I'll be able to confuse and surprise my opponent, so I activate stealth and disappear before my opponent's eyes. Then use earth and water magic along with advanced mana manipulation to their highest potential to make the ground below the golden man running toward me turn to a pool of liquid mud. As he falls downward, I solidify the pool of liquid into hard stone, locking him in place. At the same instance, I waste no time and go in for the kill. I dungeon walk behind him with extreme speed and all my agility and stat-boosting buffs burning through MP at a rapid rate while following through with my chi-infused sword strike, aiming for his heart through his back. As soon as my blade touches his golden aura, arcs of electricity begin to climb up my sword, and even while in full stealth mode, the man's head and body turn with ferocious speed. He breaks free from my stone trap with ease, and blocks my sword with one of his hands covered in golden aura, making it look like sharp claws are gripping my blade. Despite this, I grit my teeth and continue to follow through with the strike, watching my chi slowly burn through the golden aura the more I push into my sword. The man's eyes widen at this fact as the blade makes contact with the actual skin of his palm and draws bright red blood. Another eruption of his bloodlust and intimidation aura follows, and I'm hit with a point-blank brute force blow in the chest with his other free-clawed soul energy manifested hand. I feel it rip through my chi barrier and mana shielding, tearing my chestplate armor to shreds and leaving 3 deep gashes on my chest and throwing me backward. My body lights up with electricity, and I feel every cell of my being begin to heat up faster and faster. Chapter 452. Luckily, from the pure force of the brute's attack, I'm thrown flying backward through the air, and the intensity of the lightning shocks lessens the further away from the golden glowing man I get. I quickly increase my momentum away from him even faster using air steps, then activate stealth while simultaneously creating a body double to send back down at him. While my copy plummets back toward the golden ball of electricity and soul energy, I dungeon walk even further away, activating my new extreme stamina skill to heal some of my lost HP instantly. Then, use self-regeneration to heal up all minor wounds like the slashes across my chest and fix up the holes in my blood-bonded armor. However, the tingling sensation of electricity buzzing through my entire body stays longer than expected. I have to push my self-regeneration skill to its limits to mend the burnt flesh and shocked organs from head to toe. Meanwhile, my senses are severely dulled. Getting hit by one of its lightning strikes again in a more compromising position could easily have ended much worse. I cannot let that happen a second time. Even when carefully going for the kill shot, I severely underestimated my opponent. A loud explosion of white light erupts from below me as the self-destruction skill of my body double creates a shockwave of mana over 40 meters wide in diameter. I hear the man's loud yell from within. Even if there was no chi imbued in that attack, it must have hurt a bit. These new body doubles of mine equal my mana control exactly, and letting out a full force attack with no regard for my life would be a devastating move. However, the aura of golden light continues to glow from within the white shockwave of energy from my fallen double. I feel the size of the man in the center of the blast begin to expand and expel more energy. His form begins to shift and grow, similar to when I watched the ranked-up Dark Guard shift from his human body to one of a massive monster. He's transforming already? Huge arcs of lightning begin to shoot out, reaching further and further away from the man's position in the middle of the boss room. They begin to reach out over 100 meters away from him, arcing toward me. I go into full battle mode again, boosting my perception skills to their limit and watching the electric arcs come my way. The first instinct that comes to mind when I see this electricity is that there's no way for me to dodge them. I've encountered a lightning user one time before, back in the C-class exams, and the only way I could get away from the attacks was to not be seen. The other was to take them head-on and tough it out. Based on the near paralysis-inducing feeling I got after just one split-second hit from this monster's extreme version of the skill, I'm sure muscling through isn't an option. It also saw straight through my stealth skill the instant I made it within its inner aura's range. So I'm fairly certain sneaking away from its attacks isn't going to work either. I summon another body double and send it at the growing ball of golden light again to act as a distraction while I rack my brain for more answers to my predicament. My all-seeing eye is doing full scans of the boss room, watching arcs of electricity move closer and closer to me as they somehow get stronger the more the soul energy ball grows. Another pulse of golden light erupts from the center of the boss room as my double explodes using a kamikaze-style attack again. And this sparks the beginning of an epiphany. My eyes track the fast-moving, nearly invisible shockwave of soul energy as it fills the air, and following it at the exact same speed are multiple arcing lines of electricity. This phenomenon captures my interest, and I push all of my mana control into my perception skills, leaving my attack and defenses limited while another body double is produced to make for a distraction and catalyst to run this test again. As the next pulse of mana and soul energy comes out, lightning follows. My eyes adjust to the small fluctuations in mana, and every rogue lightning strike I see arcing through the boss room is traveling on waves of mana. It is just a skill after all. I whisper under my breath. The lightning strikes aren't just a natural occurrence, they are summoned from mana, so they have to follow the natural rules of the system and dungeons. The arcs of energy can only flow as fast as the waves of mana a caster pushes them. These invisible waves of mana, just like the simple mana arrays sent out into the air when I use skills like enemy detection or my all-seeing eye, are usually mana readings I neglect to watch closely during battles because they never directly affect me or have any offensive abilities. Now that I see them, however, there's no going back. I stop sending in body doubles as distractions and allow the dust and energy to settle, revealing what is underneath. A massive black wolf with glowing golden eyes, a gold collar, shimmering claws, and sharp teeth all dripping with dense soul energy, stares at me from across the dungeon. Taken from Royal Road, this narrative should be reported if found on Amazon. Its hair stands up with static as arcs of electricity come off of it, and it bolts my way instantly. From nose to tail, the beast is almost 7 meters long and covered in a barrier of soul energy equal to, if not greater than, the density of the ranked-up colossal's shielding that I was unable to pierce through even using all my chi. Its muscular legs rip up the hard dirt ground with every step, and its increasing static waves leave a 10 meters wide trail of blackened soil behind it. I'm outmatched in every aspect. It's faster than me, stronger than me, has far more soul energy and mana stores. And worst of all, it has nothing to lose. The monster's footsteps are rhythmic and nearly silent. All I can hear is the buzz of electricity in the air and the low growl building up in its throat. If I want to beat this creature, I'll have to do it right now, and with a well-planned-out attack where I have a technical advantage. I take a deep breath in and out, pushing all my buffs to their limits while plundering mana from the air, activating my swordsmanship skill, and focusing my chi into just 3 points. The first is my eyes to aid my perception. I dungeon walk around the boss room and continuously track the waves of mana and soul energy that pulse in waves of varying strengths. The closer it is to the ravenous wolf, the denser the energy is and the stronger and faster the lightning that flows along it becomes. These are the most visible waves to me, and even a single shock could put me completely out of commission. Based on their strength, one hit wouldn't kill me, but it would freeze my body and dull my mind for possibly a full second or longer. I'd be put in a compromised position that could lead to something far worse. The further away from the wolf the waves get, the weaker they become. These waves of dispersing energy are much harder to see without total concentration, but also the lightning that follows them is less dense with mana and in turn will give a less deadly strike. The waves come in set patterns and intervals, easy for me to track and predict now that I know where to look. So, the second place where my chi aids me is in the soles of my feet. Whether it's to push off the ground with greater force or to give myself an edge in the sky when air stepping out of the way, boosting my movement speed with chi is essential to carrying out my plan. Lastly, the remainder of my chi is channeled into my sword. The first attack I threw at this floor boss's base form was a strong one, but I didn't put everything I had into it. I still left most of my chi in my shielding to protect from a counterblow. This turned out to be the smartest decision at the time, as it blocked some of the blunt force attack on my chest, but at the same time it limited my pure force that could have been used to finish the battle before it started. I allow enough concentrated chi into my sword to the point where it begins to drip from my blade. If not used soon, I'll be wasting its full potential, and an attack like this won't be possible for me to do again without more backup chi pills. Once all of the variables are set in place exactly how I want them to be, I let my instincts and legendary swordsmanship skill take over. The thuds of the wolf's footsteps fade away, and the dirt arena around us begins to disappear too. I'm left in a void of darkness. The only thing I see and feel is my opponent coming toward me and the now slow-moving waves of energy and yellow static electricity that arcs around it, sizzling and moving through the air slower and slower relative to my perception. I dungeon walk forward, watching an arc of electricity move past me on my right side so slow, I watch it make shifting sharp angled changes in direction, following the paths of least resistance, and I'm able to predict exactly where it'll flow to next by watching the mana fluctuations with my chi-infused all-seeing eye. A bright crimson thread of certainty protrudes from the tip of my blade, twisting and curving around the black empty space in front of me. Its path becomes more erratic and jumbled the closer to the wolf it gets. At some stages, the thread disappears, stopping short and reappearing tens of meters away. I understand this just means I'll have to dungeon walk to dodge many more lightning attacks and teleport with perfect accuracy to follow the plan to its exact point, landing right between the eyes of the wolf. Every square centimeter of this creature is protected with shielding denser than I can possibly dream of breaking through in my current form. However, that doesn't mean I can't pierce through the one point where it is weakest. As soul energy is used to boost the monster's vision, and a majority is used to send out lethal lightning attacks, the rest of the soul energy at its disposal covers its vitals. The most dense shielding is over its heart, next around its neck, and lastly its brain. Every time another pulse of lightning is released, There's a small fluctuation between these points, leaving openings of weaker shielding for a fraction of a second. It feels like the sea pulling back water to reveal fresh sand that doesn't see the light of day right before an enormous wave. I allow my subconscious to take over and I begin weaving through the waves of lightning in a predetermined path, air-stepping in dungeon walking through the ever-increasing storm of electricity. It feels like a dance that I've been practicing for years, but finally get to perform for the first time. Every time I disappear and reappear, sections of the boss room's mana get sucked away by my plunder skill that is pushed to its limit, burning through MP like a furnace to keep the graceful display of precision and timing alive. Arcs of electricity brush by my legs, back, arms, and face as the crimson thread gets shorter and shorter, bringing me closer to the deadly wolf. Once I'm close enough to be within its inner aura filled with bloodlust and dense arcs of electricity. Its ranked-up buff sends waves of intense intimidation deep into my psyche, but I don't let it slow me down. If anything, the increasing pressure makes me move even faster, relying more on my subconscious battle instincts. I begin dungeon walking multiple times a second, shortening the thread further until my blade glowing with chi lands its sharpest point dead center between the wolf's eyes. In this exact moment, one of the creature's soul energy pulses is triggered right on cue. Its shielding fluctuates and my opening is made available for less than 1/10 of a second. I release a wave of chi from my sword's tip dense enough to melt through the weakened golden aura and pierce right through the wolf's skull, cooking its brains with a violent release of every drop of energy I have to wager. The chi in my core is drained by over 75% in a single strike. Then the wave of soul energy and electricity that produced the fluctuation allowing me to land this attack hits me like a tsunami. I feel the full power of its concentrated extreme lighting summoning attack flow through my veins. The last thing I see is the flowing white chi burst from its eyes and the golden collar around its neck begins to disintegrate and fade away. An explosion of energy sends me flying into the air, ripping the outer layers of my shielding, armor, and skin to shreds, but the ringing in my inner ear and the fading sensation of electricity going away tells me that everything worked out. Level up, 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 level up. Use absorption, skill, combat magic, extreme lightning summoning. Yes. No. Use absorption. MCP 77,801,424. Yes. No. Rank up. Yes. No. Chapter 453. I choose yes on both options, then use self-regeneration, extreme stamina, and drink a full HP potion while slowly air-stepping toward the boss room floor. My vision is hazy, and my body is tingling all over. I can feel the life coming back to me, but with over 80% of my chi core also depleted, I begin to feel lightheaded and weak as well. Both hands start to glow white, and the sensation begins to climb up my arms to cover my chest and creeps up my neck to cover my head as well. I felt this sensation once before, and it was when I ranked up last time. Right below me, the corpse of the fallen lightning wolf is yet to dissolve, but with the intensity of the energy that's flowing through my mana pathways right now, I get the feeling my rank up isn't going to be a quick and pleasant procedure. The more the energy takes over my conscious mind, the closer it feels like I'm about to transfer up to the next floor and be in serious danger. I make the split-second decision before my vision goes white to open up a spatial magic portal, letting the undissolved corpse of the lightning wolf fall inside. Then, allow Ember to fly out. The instant he hits the air, his entire body begins to shine bright white as well, and I place a hand on his back, dungeon walking us to the outer edge of a dungeon that is ingrained in my mind as a default teleport point. I see the glimpse of the empty Great Plains, right where the rift of the Void Creepers used to stand, but now is just an empty wide-stretching meadow with rolling hills and mountains far off in the distance. The hot white energy envelopes my entire body, and I lose consciousness. Plus 1,000 strength. Plus 1,000 mental strength. Plus 1,000 speed. Plus 1,000 agility. Plus 1,000 defense. New buff. Rising Emperor's greater form. Hidden ability, active. A rejuvenating rush of energy washes over me while I open my eyes and take in a fresh breath of air, cooler and more refreshing than any breath I've ever felt. I sit up and slowly look around to my left and right, taking in the view of the Great Plains with a newfound appreciation for the dungeon's intricate design. My eyes are sharp, cutting through the imagery of what looks to be a grassy plain, and I see the manifestations of mana for what they really are. Realistic holograms of energy, producing lifelike designs to lure in hunters to expel mana while searching for treasures. Every breath I take brings in more mana in the air, converting it into usable energy, and every second that passes, my body expels mana of its own at an extremely fast rate as it is constantly running on passive buffs and active bodily functions. I can feel every mana particle in this dungeon down to its core, and I even sense the monsters in this dungeon cowering at the sense of my aura, not getting within a kilometer away from me. My mana control has easily increased by over 2.5x, and my Rising Emperor's domain now reaches out just over 100 meters. Less than 20% of my chi stores remain after that battle, but it feels as if I could use this small amount to easily perform the attack I just threw with 75% of my previous core. Every aspect of my being has been upgraded. My mind feels sharper, my energy control is leagues above what it used to be, and my natural base level strength feels far greater. My skin is smoother, and my movements are more graceful. My armor and wounds from battle are completely healed. I don't feel a hint of fatigue in my body at all, and my new and improved form already feels natural. Ember, I whisper under my breath, as he's the second thing on my mind after myself. My head turns as I perceive the reading of a level 1002 dragon in my mind's eye, but the visual I see is far from what I expected. A young man with fair skin and long silky crimson hair sits in a patch of grass less than 15 meters away from me, admiring the dungeon's glory in the same manner that I did just moments ago. He wears an elegant outfit, similar to the apparel seen on high-ranking nobles I passed in my travels through Valor City or expensive auctions. Unauthorized content usage. If you discover this narrative on Amazon, report the violation. The man wears a black vest over a white dress shirt and a silky red overcoat that matches his bright hair. His matte black shoes match his silky gloves, and a powerful invisible aura surrounds his being. The man turns his head toward me. Fierce, yet calm, crimson eyes lock with mine. He speaks aloud in a voice I know very well. Glad to see you're finally awake, Master. It's great to see you decided to take my advice and rank up again. The corner of his lip curves upward, and I see a striking resemblance to the toothy grin Ember always shows when he's enjoying himself. Maybe we won't be killed so easily by the Lich King after all, he mutters to himself. Takes me a moment to register my thoughts, but I reply, "You've changed quite a bit too." He stands to his feet, letting his long hair and thin red overcoat flutter in the light breeze of the dungeon. I have, indeed. It's always been much easier getting around in these human forms. Not the greatest for combat, but I get a lot less screams when I walk into rooms. He looks down at his hands, moving his fingers and breathing in the mana-dense air through his nose. A red glow starts to manifest around his body too, showing his mythic grade Plunderer skill activate for a fraction of a second, and all of the mana in the surrounding area gravitates toward him. He turns it off and his base aura glows even brighter than it did before. It's been a while since I've ranked up a second time. This body is probably my favorite one so far. Another pulse of red aura surrounds him for a moment. Then the extremely strong mana control completely vanishes into thin air. It's like he's using a mana suppression technique that masks his strength, but I can't see a drop of chi surrounding his body at all. It must be an even more advanced technique. He continues to admire himself, while tons of thoughts race through my mind. I should have come to this conclusion earlier. Both of the double-ranked-up monsters I've faced so far have started their battles in human forms. Of course, Ember would be the same. This changes quite a few things. Like he said, there will be far less terror from normal humans when entering a room. Meaning Ember can walk around with humans, and his safely guarded identity will not be so easily figured out. Secondly, a more concerning thought comes to my mind as I look down at my status and see my new buff, Rising Emperor's greater form. I point a question toward Ember, hesitant to activate my buff and see for myself. So monsters receive the ability to turn into humanoid forms when they reach level 1000. Does this mean I'll have the ability to turn into a monster? Updated status sheet. Status open. Name, J. Soch. Level 1002. HP. 5015/5015. MP. 5015/5015. Strength. 4039 plus 3999. Plus 5049. Plus 11188. Plus 4847. Plus 2020. Plus 4039. Plus 7714. Plus 5049. Plus 5049. Plus 10,098. Speed. 3,900 plus 4329. Plus 5,928. Plus 4875. Plus 5,616. Plus 1950. Plus 3,900. Plus 5187. Plus 4,875. Plus 4875. Plus 9,750. Agility. 4,008 plus 4,008. Plus 4,409. Plus 5010. Plus 5,932. Plus 6212. Plus 2004. Plus 4008. Plus 6,974. Plus 5010. Plus 10,020. Defense. 4,205. Plus 3112. Plus 5,929. Plus 4626. Plus 5,845. Plus 8074. Plus 6,938. Plus 2103. Plus 4,205. Plus 5551. Plus 10,513. Mental strength. 4,566. Plus 4568. Plus 5,708. Plus 5981. Plus 9,726. Plus 8173. Plus 2,283. Plus 4566. Plus 7,854. Plus 5708. Plus 5,708. Plus 11415. Skills. Absorption. Legendary grade. Swordsmanship. Legendary grade. Combat magic. Advanced fire summoning. Inspect. Special grade. Enemy detection. Legendary grade. Body hardening. Legendary grade. Self-regeneration. Legendary grade. Spatial magic. Item storage. Plunderer. Legendary grade. Telekinesis. Appraisal. Special grade. Conceal. Special grade. Berserker. Legendary grade. Dungeon Walker. Legendary grade. Intimidation. Legendary grade. Dagger Mastery. Legendary grade. Stealth. Legendary grade. Bloodlust. Legendary grade. Equivalent exchange. Combat magic. Advanced wind summoning. All-seeing eye. Extreme strength. Legendary grade. Dual wielding. Legendary grade. Telepathy. Legendary grade. Final breath. Legendary grade. Combat magic. Advanced earth summoning. Combat magic. Advanced mana manipulation. Life steal. Legendary grade. Hibernation. Special grade. Combat magic. Advanced demonic energy manipulation. Combat magic. Advanced ice summoning. Body double. Legendary grade. Lie detector. Legendary grade. Hush. Legendary grade. Craftsmanship. Mythic grade. Extreme speed. Legendary grade. Combat Magic, Advanced Water Summoning, Screech, Legendary Grade, Phantom Step, Legendary Grade, Flare, Legendary Grade, Confusion, Legendary Grade, Blast, Legendary Grade, Bind, Legendary Grade, Iron Fist, Legendary Grade, Extreme Stamina, Legendary Grade, Combat Magic, Extreme Lightning Summoning. Items equipped. 15 slots available post-second rank up. Current items equipped. Platinum Ring of Visual Manipulation, plus 151% mental strength, plus 111% speed, plus 100% agility, plus 99% strength, plus 74% defense. Illusion Attribute. The Behemoth's Platinum Amulet, plus 141% defense, plus 125% strength, plus 125% mental strength. Enchanted Boots of Extreme Speed, plus 152% speed. Enchanted Ice Serpent's Pendant, plus 110% agility, plus 75% magic resistance, plus 95% ice magic resistance. Platinum Ring of the Blue Ogre King, plus 131% mental strength, plus 125% speed, plus 125% agility, plus 110% defense. The Flame Emperor's Sword, Advanced Fire Aspect, plus 277% strength, plus 213% mental strength, plus 139% defense, plus 144% speed, plus 148% agility. Berserker King's Armor Set, Blood Bonded, plus 192% defense. Cloak of Total Darkness, plus 179% mental strength, plus 155% agility, plus 75% perception. Hidden Passive Ability. Concealment Attribute. Enchanted Lightweight Gauntlets, plus 165% defense, plus 120% strength. Hardening Attribute. Greater Demon's Core, plus 50% all stats. Archdemon's Core, plus 100% all stats. Empty Slot, Empty Slot, Empty Slot. Final Slot, 15th. Frowny Face Interchangeable. The Wind Tyrant's Dagger Set, Advanced Wind Aspect, plus 191% strength, plus 174% agility, plus 172% mental strength, plus 133% speed, plus 132% defense. Midnight Dagger. Skill buffs. Berserker plus 125% strength plus mental strength. Bloodlust plus 125% speed plus agility plus mental strength, plus 50% perception. Extreme Strength plus 125% strength. Extreme Speed plus 125% speed. Final Breath plus 250% all stats. Exact percent will vary. Conditions vs circumstances apply. Permanent buffs. Rising Emperor's Domain. Hidden Ability. Passive. Rising Emperor's Greater Form. Hidden Ability. Active. Red Hydra's Rage. Soul Bond Attribute. Active. Chapter 454. It's usually not that simple. Humans are far less likely to awaken a monster form than monsters are to awaken a human form. After all, ranked-up abilities manifest what the user desires or needs most. Whether that's skill upgrades for those who cannot do it naturally, a new human form to fit in with society, a massive increase in mana control, or maybe a buff that fits their fighting style. Every rank-up procedure is different. You won't know how it works until you try it. I continue to stare down at the Rising Emperor's Greater Form tag on my buffs portion of my status, then let out a sigh and reply, "You're right. I might as well try it and see what this new ability does." I step back and stand in a steady stance, then activate the buff. A surge of energy instantly pulses through me. It's definitely mana-powered, but there's a unique air to the energy that makes it feel like there's more to it than I can comprehend. I feel my feet being lifted off the ground, and my aura begins to expand and materialize into an outer layer of energy in the exact shape of my body. It starts off as a pure white glow but fluctuates and shifts in color from gray to dark shadowy black the larger it grows around me. Thick plumes of dense mana, more powerful than any shielding I've ever summoned in my life, wrap around my arms, legs, torso, and even my head. I can see through it without a problem. Even though the energy surrounds me, if anything, my perception of the dungeon only becomes greater. A swirling shadowy form grows larger and larger, pulling me off of the dungeon floor higher into the air. I stare down at myself, as I'm floating in the center of this form over 2 meters off the ground and still growing. I move my hands in front of me, and the energy moves in perfect sync without missing a beat. I take a step forward, and the growing mana-imbued creation does the same. As my feet now hover over 4 meters off the ground, I begin to activate skills. The first is my fire magic. My main inner body does not ignite into flames as I expected, but the outer layer of darkness mimics the flickering illusion of fire. To push my tests further, I turn to a desolate portion of the dungeon and summon a ball of fire, letting it blast off into the distance toward a far-off rolling hill. Unexpectedly, the shadowy mana-imbued mass around me manifests black flames of mana at the same time, and a black ball of fire over 4 times larger than what I was expecting to throw rockets toward the grassy hills. An explosion of mana and destruction of a large portion of the dungeon ensues, letting the potential scale and possibilities of this power sink in. I stare down at the ground again, as the form doesn't stop expanding, and take out my sword. A perfect copy is manifested in the energy form's hand as well. I swing it across my body, producing slashes of fire that carve up the dungeon for hundreds of meters and leave trails of black flames. At the same moment, I feel an absurd amount of mana leave my body. This tale has been unlawfully lifted without the author's consent. Report any appearances on Amazon. Every slash I throw uses up over 4 times as much mana as it normally would, and the larger my form grows, the more it's starting to use. I activate Plunderer, and energy from all around seeps into my new form to fuel its growth even further. Even more mana is needed the larger I grow. Once my form grows to roughly 7 times my normal human size, the expansion stops. A flickering shadowy images of myself is stood in the middle of the Great Plains dungeon. My intricate facial features are exactly the same. My armor and gear are all replicated without any errors, and advanced fire magic flames flicker, producing overwhelming heat. Feels like I'm unstoppable in this new form. I continue to practice for a few minutes, trying out other elements and basic skills to get used to this new power. I'm about to try imbuing chi into my blade, but before I do, a major concern hits me. Most buffs and instant power-ups like this don't come without a cost. It would be best not to push it too far without testing if there are any side effects. So, I make the decision to revert to my normal form before I get too deep into the unknown. Like a flip of a switch, the moment I think about turning off my Rising Emperor's greater form, the energy around my body churns and seeps back into me, lowering me to the floor far faster than it expanded. I brace myself for a wave of fatigue like the Red Hydra's buff, or the tingling feeling I get from overusing my mana, but as my feet touch the dungeon floor, nothing of the sort comes. I feel normal. I try to activate self-regeneration and even scan my own body with my all-seeing eye, but nothing is wrong. Ember walks over with a satisfied smile. Looks like you received a greater energy form. Those are even more rare than monster forms for humans, but honestly, I don't know what else I'd expect from you. With your overuse of that Hydra's power, and the constant buffs and aura training, an energy form is the only upgrade worth giving. The system knows best. He shrugs. I turn around, placing my sword back into my item storage, and raise a question back. A greater energy form? So, what do I need to know about it? What can it do? Felt like my full body grew for a moment there. It's like it's a part of me. Ember walks closer, examining the damage done to the dungeon landscape and nodding with approval. Well, it seems to me you received an enhancement-style greater form. Usually, these forms are only useful for short spurts of battle because of their overexertion of mana. However, with the Plunderer skill, this will be less of a problem. It can increase the user's size, speed, strength, and overall total capabilities many times over for a limited period of time. Think of it like an enormous, overcharged body double that you control from the inside. I'd already come to a similar conclusion, but Ember continues with information that I wasn't expecting to hear. However, there are some downsides too. Physical attacks on your energy form will transfer to your main body as well. Just because it's a souped-up version of yourself that surrounds your real body doesn't mean it's invincible. You saw how when you activated skills they didn't manifest on your inner body. They only were visible in your energy form. I nod. Yeah. Well, that's because this energy form is a part of you. It's your being. It is you. There's a silence between us as I let that sink in, and Ember continues. This is the best-case scenario we could be in for your second rank up. Now, we just need to trigger your soul energy awakening, and maybe we'll actually have a chance against the Lich King if you're still fixated on killing that thing. For that, you're still going to need a lot more chi. Right? More chi. And more time in isolated cultivation, too. My train of thought over my new rank up and abilities switches back to where I left off before all of this. How long were we ranking up for? I still have a lot of work to do. My teammates will be coming to meet with us shortly, and I need to prepare a welcoming present for them. I check my memories, and see there's still no sign of either of my two remaining body doubles' deaths yet. I'm unsure if this is a good or bad sign, so soon I'll have to check things out for myself. Ember replies, finally making his way next to me, stepping around all of the burned portions of the dungeon around us. I was unconscious for the same amount of time as you. Form transformation rank-ups usually take far longer than simple buffs. But I don't believe it was more than a few hours at most. I place a hand on his shoulder and bring us both back into the Canyon of Dungeons in Sector 2. Ember speaks up from behind me as I begin to walk toward the exit portal. Oh, so I'll finally be meeting your human friends? This will be quite interesting. Chapter 455. As soon as I walk out of the dungeon and look up at the sky from a thin path on the edge of the canyon, I see the orange setting sun above. Instantly, the geopoints of my rising Emperor's domain find my friend feature manifest in my mind's eye, showing me that Ari is nearby, but Abby and Maria are still far off in Valor City. My double sent off to find them and the one taking care of the town of thugs and recovering slave workers are still active, so I have no updates to work with. I'll have to assume my double is delaying for good reason. For now, I'll continue with the task at hand. I air step up out of the canyon, and Ember follows by my side, using near-invisible platforms of dense red energy to step off of and gracefully fly through the air. We head off to the edge of the abyss, and to my surprise, I see Ari at its edge spewing refined demonic energy from his fingertips in thin but steady streams to attack a provoked demonic wolf. At very close range, the energy rips through the wolf's hide, injuring its flesh all over, and bringing it to its knees in a matter of seconds after a barrage of jet black attacks. These are the weakest of the demonic creatures, but they are great target practice, and Ari's improvement is quite fast. Along with that, his confidence to practice without me in his main body is remarkable as well. As he finishes absorbing the remaining unrefined energy from the fallen wolf, I finally step into range and wave him down. At the sight of me, his eyes perk up, but he doesn't react quickly or move a muscle. He just breathes slowly and allows the energy within him to trickle out from his core and into the sand, escaping his fingertips for almost a full minute as both Ember and I approach. My best guess is he still needs very high levels of concentration to keep the energy stable, so if he's not going to be in immediate battle or training for short spurts of time, his safest course of action is to drain his core. It makes sense, so I don't disturb him while he does his due diligence. However, once his core is drained and I stand before him with a brand new face beside me, he finally speaks up. You took your sweet time. So, I take it you won your fight and managed to rank up again. I nod. Yes, I managed to rank up. I'm much more confident I can fend off another attack if the Dark One sends any more guards our way. But I still have to get much stronger. We all do. Ari's gaze turns to Ember in his human form beside me. And who might this be? A strong ally. Ari looks at Ember curiously and cautiously. It's clear he's very intrigued by the confusing energy readings coming off of him, but concerned as well. I reply, yes, a very powerful ally. He's been assisting all of us from the background for a while, but I believe it's time you all finally met. Ari reads the situation perfectly and replies in a calm manner. A strong ally with a backstory that I shouldn't pry into just yet, it seems. He chuckles, then looks Ember in the eyes. Well, a friend of Jay's is a friend of mine. Nice to meet you. I'm Ari. Ember smiles, tightening his gaze and doing full scans of his own on Ari before replying and putting out a friendly hand to shake. Stolen from its original source, this story is not meant to be on Amazon. Report any sightings. I'm Ember. It's nice to finally meet. I look forward to getting stronger with you. They shake hands, but as soon as they release their grip, Ember does something unexpected. He points his hand toward the abyss and a thick stream of demonic energy comes swirling toward him, compacting and hovering right above his hand in a dense ball. He shapes it into a fluctuating long sharp crescent and sends it flying back into the darkness where it came. The powerful and dense attack of demonic energy slices through the abyss, leaving a wide open gash in the black mist. He turns to Ari. I see you've recently obtained a demon's core and need some assistance in mastering your demonic energy. I'm sure I can help you reach the next level. Ember's methods for manipulating demonic energy are fairly different than mine. He does not have a core, so he manipulates the energy outside of his body using some unknown force. However, he was the one that taught me how to use demonic energy in the first place, so I see no better fit for a teacher. I have a lot of work to do, and guiding Ari through the next phases of training would take quite a while. I could use a body double to assist him, but Ember's insight will speed up his progress even faster. So I interject. Ember was the one that taught me most of my demonic energy techniques, so I trust that you'll be able to progress much faster with him watching over. Plus, this will be a good way for you two to get to know each other. In the same moment, I share my body double skill with Ari, and he immediately feels the rush of energy and creates 3 doubles that spawn behind him. His main body speaks. It would be a pleasure. If you have anything to add, I'm all ears. I can tell I'm on the verge of another breakthrough. They both turn toward the abyss, and I sit back beside the same small rock formation as last time and open up my item storage to take out piles of mana crystals and the isolation pods to begin running a few more tests. That was easier than I thought it'd be. Now, back to these pods. I start up right where I left off, staring down at the current dilation. 1.2040x. Reading that glows above the control panel. After roughly another 100k MP worth of crystals, the number ticks up again showing current dilation. 1.2041x. I continue feeding the machine more and more crystals. After an additional 1 million MP, the reading shows current dilation, 1.2051x, further proving that my hypothesis that it would take nearly 1 billion MP to make it up to a 2x dilation. Seeing that in all the hours I farmed in the labyrinth, I only came back with a few million MP, I begin to rack my brain for more ideas. Although an average rate of 1 million MP farmed per hour is enough to sustain the economy of a small country, it still isn't enough to fund my science experiments here, so I'm going to have to think outside the box. There must have been some other way that the old Sector 2 leader charged these machines up with so much MP. I sift through my inventory and find crates of over 100 C-grade MP potions that I took from the warehouse earlier today and feed them into the machine to see the rating rise again to current dilation, 1.2054x, and realize even magic items can be put into this machine as fuel too. I dump junk gear from my farming that I'll never use or sell, like swords and axes from D to C-grade monsters, until I see the number tick up again, current dilation, 1.2055x. Then, I sift through a portion of my storage where many element stones from my time in the labyrinth sit. There's a few ice stones from the Elite Yeti floor, 2 earth stones that dropped from the giant worms on the 38th, a handful of unique stones from the wyvern boss on the 30th. Then lastly, the 9 black fire stones from the 39th floor mutants sit untouched, waiting to be unleashed. Beside all of these is the corpse of the massive lightning wolf in suspended animation inside my item storage. I'm curious what kind of items it will drop, but am unsure if taking its body from the boss room will trigger any unique reactions. So, I'm holding off on letting its body fully dissolve until I can get back to the labyrinth and see the current state of the 40th floor. I make the decision to play things safe and use one of the less rare stones first, feeding an ice element stone into the machine. It disappears the moment I take it out and press the input mana feature, but the dilation does not increase. Confused at this reaction, I try a few more of these lower-powered element stones, and it takes over half a dozen more to trigger the counter to rise current dilation. 1.2056x. They are just element stones after all. This machine doesn't care how rare or powerful an item is. It only cares about how much mana it possesses. I let out a sigh, but then remember the time I crafted a cursed overcharged wind element stone to drain all of the available mana from a dungeon. Maybe something like that could work. I look up from my tests and see Ember and Ari about 20 meters away getting along nicely. The streaks of demonic energy are flying out from Ares' doubles palms much faster, and the energy is far more condensed and deadly than before. I put the isolation pod away into my storage and walk over to them. Ember, I'm going to need some assistance from you to run another test. I expand my all-seeing eyes range to do a quick deep scan of the desert and pinpoint a weak rogue dungeon far in the distance, about 50 kilometers away from where we currently stand. Then, I point in its general direction. This will only take a moment. We'll know if it works or not pretty quickly. Chapter 456. I turn to Ari. You should come too. As long as you stay within 100 meters of me, your body doubles won't deactivate. They can continue to train here by the abyss while we go into the desert. Then, I turn back in the direction of the rogue dungeon. Sure, I'll come along, Ari replies. The three of us head off into the desert, flying with various magic techniques to increase our speed and fly over 50 kilometers in just a few minutes. It reminds me of my flight over here from Sector 1 on Ember's back. During it, I felt quite a few other rogue dungeons out in the wilderness. There's far less in these deserts than the crowded forest areas back in the Vice region. But near every town out here there are rogue dungeons scattered about, the same as Sector 4. The canyon that houses over 100 of them is quite the mystery to me, honestly. Dungeons of that magnitude and quantity are usually only found near massive cities where thousands or even millions of hunters excrete excess mana every day to fuel and grow them. There is hardly any activity way out here in Sector 2, and there couldn't have been more than 500 people living in the small town. They must have been created or maintained artificially, but now isn't the time for me to ponder this. I'm just glad there's a rogue dungeon not too far away, but not too close. If anything goes wrong in my test, the working dungeons won't be affected, and the town is far away from any potential blast radius. Here we are. The three of us touch down in a desolate portion of the desert with the remains of what looks like it used to be a small trading station and check-in hut, but is now just scrap wood that has fallen apart and sunk into the desert sand. Next to it is a small spinning blue dungeon portal that gives off the mana reading of a middle-ranked E-grade or possibly low-ranked D-grade at the highest. Someone must have regulated this dungeon or farmed it pretty often in the past, but it has been long abandoned. Even Ari, without a specific perception skill activated, can tell that this is an odd place to trek out to. He speaks up as we all walk inside and take in the lush green scenery. What kinds of tests do you plan on doing with a dungeon this week? The rustling of jungle trees, long colorful flowery vines, and thick underbrush fills our vision. Here, I'll show you. I place a hand on both Ember and Ares' shoulder, dungeon walking us to the center of the dungeon right beside two wild boar mobs at level 53 and 54 just to get a closer look. We take the pair of monsters by surprise, but they hardly let out a squeal before the overwhelming aura of our trio suffocates them to death and they fall to the floor. I activate enemy detection to find a few hundred other boars between level 50 and 60 filling the dungeon, but they're all running far away from us in fear. With a sigh, I reach into my item storage to pull out one of the jet black firestones and place a hand on Ember's shoulder. If you encounter this tale on Amazon, note that it's taken without the author's consent. Report it. Ari, you should probably place a hand on my back. I'm about 50% sure this will work, but to be safe, I'll be dungeon walking us out of here pretty quickly. His eyes widen at the intense rippling black flames of the stone that I let hover over my right hand using telekinesis, and its fire burns so strong and bright that trees above in the jungle regions begin to erupt into flames. He places a hand on my back, and I take this as a cue to activate my mythic grade craftsmanship skill. I take a deep breath in and out before my gaze hovers over the Imbue tab next to Ember's Plunder mythic grade skill. Beforehand, I thought this through very carefully. The element stones and various items that became cursed or unstable the last time I performed this test were items made from material far inferior to the power of a mythic grade skill. However, this element stone is a borderline A-grade material. The pure mana and fierce power it gives off is higher than anything I've ever tried to merge in a craft before. Even the leftover ice, earth, and unique wyvern stones in my inventory pale in comparison to the pure power these black firestones produce. My plan is to activate the craft, then leave this dungeon the instant I do. The air goes still, and the jungle becomes silent. My vision burns through the Imbue tab in my mind's eye. Then, I press it and watch the white light of my craftsmanship skill envelop the entire stone. The instant I feel the craft complete, the mana in our surroundings begin to collapse in toward the stone. My MP is dropped to half in a fraction of a second, and I catch a glimpse of the new item's information with my all-seeing eye. I blip all three of us away to a dungeon back in the canyon 50 kilometers away to safety before I can conceptualize what I've seen. Elite Minotaur's Firestone. Containment item. Info. An element stone left behind by an elite grade Minotaur with a fire magic variant. It has been imbued with the mythic grade Plunderer skill to create a one-time use containment item. This stone will plunder mana from its surroundings until the mana control limit of its previous monster owner is met. Once its limit is reached, the Plunderer aspect will cease to function. Class, A+. Type, Containment item. Current MP containment, 0.001B/7.8901B. We all materialize in a random D-grade grassland dungeon in the canyon, and I speak out loud with a grin. I think it worked. I create a body double and it immediately teleports back to the dungeon to do reconnaissance. Less than half a second after I do, the double dies, but I see what is happening inside that wild boar dungeon as clear as day. In just a few seconds, a massive twister of fire has begun engulfing the jungle. A crater of disappearing dungeon mass is forming in the center where I dropped the black stone, and it is expanding outward and downward at a quickly increasing rate. My double gets too close to the blast, attempting to use all of its perception skills to visualize what's going on at the item's core, but is sucked dry of MP and pulled into the black fiery core before it can do anything. Over the next half a minute, I continuously send in body doubles to watch the increasingly large ball of flames destroy the dungeon I dropped it in. Enormous jungle trees, dozens of boars, and tall rock formations are burned away by the black flames and consumed as energy for the growing ball of dungeon mass. However, once the stone's fireball diameter reaches a point of about 300 meters wide, for some reason it stops expanding. My double watches the flames begin to flicker and die down. The raging ball of violent MP-hungry energy stops completely, and I finally get a clear visual on a black stone glowing with energy at its center. I manage to get a reading on the stone by flying closer as the flames fizzle out. Elite Minotaur's Firestone. Containment item. Info. An element stone left behind by an elite grade Minotaur with a fire magic variant. It has been imbued with the mythic grade Plunderer skill to create a one-time use containment item. This stone will plunder mana from its surroundings until the mana control limit of its previous monster owner is met. Once its limit is reached, the Plunderer aspect will cease to function. Class, A+. Type, Containment item. Current MP containment, 7.8901B/7.8901B. Using water magic and wind magic, my double carves a path through the leftover flames and floats down into the dirt-filled crater to stand right next to the large black stone I left before. It still flickers with black flames, but they are not nearly as violent. This mass looks like it's grown a few times larger, almost half a meter wide now. The most fascinating thing is the immense amount of mana it contains. It feels as if one wrong move could set off a massive explosion. However, my double opens up its item storage and drops the fully saturated stone inside. It dungeon walks back with the package contained, then speaks to my main body with an outstretched hand. The test was a success. Let me see one of the isolation pods. I'll try to feed the result of this experiment to the machine. Chapter 457. I take the isolation pod I've been working on all this time out of my storage and allow my double to place it inside its own. It blips away, back to the wild boar dungeon to perform its test. I wait patiently for about a minute, then the memories of my body double successfully inputting the stone into the machine just like a mana crystal, then killing itself to quickly relay the information come rushing back to me. It worked. I teleport the three of us back into the wild boar dungeon, and sitting in the center of the 300-meter-wide dirt crater that's destroyed the jungle is a lightly humming isolation pod. At the sight of the massive hole, and the mana content in the air dropping by a noticeable amount, this test was a great success. The pod's door is left wide open, and the containment cell at the top is now magnitudes denser with mana than it was before. White plumes of pure mana charge the shielding barriers, and it now looks a lot more like the isolation pods that we used back in the Galeheart Tower. The glowing blue text only visible to my all-seeing eye hovering over the control panel now says, Current dilation 9.0957x. I let the machine fall into my item storage, then turn to Ember and place a hand on his shoulder while pulling another stone out into the open air. We'll do it again. I imbue a nearly identical black flaming stone with Ember's mythic grade plunder skill and dungeon walk us out of there before the reaction can fully begin. A few minutes later, I dungeon walk back in to find the crater has grown far larger. The dungeon is less dense with pure mana, and another saturated stone sits at the crater's center. The contained mana inside is similar to the last stone. Current MP containment 7.4255B/7.4255B. I let it drop into my inventory and pull out another, wanting to saturate all the stones I can as fast as possible while it's working so well. Another 5 tests go by, taking less than 20 minutes in total, and each of them saturates another stone with varying potencies between 7 and 8 billion MP. Every time I return to the dungeon, the affected area grows less and less dense with mana. Using my high level of perception, even the areas of the dungeon that are not directly affected by the plunder radius are weakening and becoming less dense with mana every time I return. Even the levels of newly spawned in monsters are lowering. What used to be a flourishing jungle region with level 50 to 60 boars quickly fell below level 30s for new spawns halfway through. On the test before this one, some of the mobs even spawned in at lower than level 10. The dungeon is in bad shape. Its artificial landscape is ripped to shreds, and most of its mana completely absorbed. As I walk down the crater to fetch the stone, I do a deep scan of my surroundings and find that there's more mana trapped in this single stone than there is remaining in the entire dungeon. Stolen from Royal Road, this story should be reported if encountered on Amazon. The newest group of spawned-in mobs I detect are between level 2 and 3. As I let the saturated stone fall into my inventory, I think about taking out one of the 2 stones remaining but turn to Ember before I do. There isn't enough mana to fully saturate another stone. Our best course of action will probably be to find another rogue dungeon to drain. He nods, smiling with his arms crossed. Sure, it may be unwise to drop another stone and not allow it to fully saturate. Would you like me to collapse this dungeon for safekeeping? There's less than 3 billion mana left in here at the most. It'll only take a few minutes. I shrug. Go for it. You've been wanting to do this for a long time, so have at it. Ember's aura immediately pulses red, and a wave of strong mana erupts from him. Very well, I recommend the 2 of you wait outside. I'll be draining every last drop, so it's best you don't get caught in the crossfire. The natural dungeon mechanism will teleport me back into the desert once I'm finished. Ember's cloud of red aura begins to grow, just like the times I witnessed it in the Titan's domain. However, now he's many times stronger than back then. I dungeon walk with Ari back to the exit portal, and we hop out into the desert next to the dilapidated wooden hut. The sun has almost fully set, making the fading orange glow the last bit of warmth in the air. The small blue dungeon portal slowly spins, but it's barely producing any mana readings, and is becoming smaller and weaker at a rapid rate as Ember plunders it from the inside. While the portal shrinks and we sit and wait, I decide to take out the isolation pod again to begin placing the 6 additional stones inside. The moment I place a new stone inside, the text changes again, showing current dilation, 13.2606x. At first, the number throws me off, because it didn't rise the expected 7.4255x amount. However, once I drop another stone with 7.9304 BMP inside, and the number changes to current dilation, 17.2258x, things begin to make more sense. I input another, and the rating reaches current dilation, 20.4461x. After the final 3 additional stones, it reaches current dilation, 26.1005x. After seeing the numbers rise in such odd intervals, I begin to do some math. It took 1 billion MP for every additional 1x dilation interval for the first 10 levels. However, once the counter passed 10.0000x, each additional 1x in dilation cost twice as much. It took 20 billion MP to go from 10x to 20x. Then, just to make it halfway from 20 to 30x, it took over 20 billion MP again, meaning it will take 40 billion MP in total to raise the scale from 20 to 30x if this process is repeated. If this pattern continues, every 10 additional levels of dilation will cost twice as much MP to fuel. Now the old craftsman's note about higher levels of dilation not being profitable for selling to consumers makes sense. I mutter under my breath. Content with how high I managed to get the machine already, I place the pod back into my item storage and begin to strategize in my mind how I'll be able to farm more of these firestones at a steady rate. At the same time, the dungeon portal that Ember is dissolving is beginning to waver and pulse before our eyes. Less than another minute passes before it becomes so thin and transparent I believe an E-rank hunter without any perception skills could even see what's happening without enhanced vision. Still, I keep all of my senses at the ready, because a rumor about what is left behind from collapsing dungeons continues to stir in the back of my mind. I'm hoping right here and now I'll get to see if it's true. The portal gets smaller, spinning even less, and dissipating into thin air before our eyes. Then, we're left in silence as the final remnants of it implode on itself and the portal completely vanishes. A few seconds pass, and my gaze stays locked on the point where it disappeared with every bit of mana control pushing my all-seeing eye to its limit. Then, a flash of light teleports all foreign dungeon matter back to the desert. Ember materializes in front of me, still putting off an immense red aura, and brimming with newly plundered mana. My heart skips a beat, and my eyes widen as I see a tiny shimmering fragment of a bright white glowing crystal falling to the desert floor. It looks no larger than a fingernail, but sends out a unique aura that captures my interest. I watch it gracefully fall through the air for a fraction of a second, and see sparkling trailing mist dissolve off of it. It looks as if the mere contact with the air is eroding it away at a rapid rate, and if I don't act now, whatever this material is will completely disappear before it even touches the sand. I open a spatial magic portal right below the odd glowing mass, and it falls inside my storage. Chapter 458. The visual of the white crystal dissolving into the air plays over and over in my mind. I wouldn't have managed to catch it or even sense it if I wasn't specifically looking for it. I'm almost positive I just managed to finally obtain one of the most valuable magic items in the world. However, I'm going to need to replicate this process again and bring it back to a safe place for some test crafts before I can be 100% sure. Considering this, I don't bother to mention my find to the others until I'm certain of this discovery's legitimacy. For now, I'll stay focused on the main task at hand. We fly back to the abyss where Ares doubles are still training, and I create a double of my own to send off to the canyon to go and farm the 39th floor for more stones. After that recent rank up, my mana control has drastically increased again, so I'm confident I'll be able to defeat the mutant elite minotaurs even without using chi. Once my double is off, Ari gets back to training with his doubles and practicing concentrated demonic energy control in his main body. I lay back on the side of a desert sand dune and watch the sunset with Ember standing close by, admiring the final golden glow before the desert turns to night. The only visible light on the horizon is the town full of workers, grunts, and one of my body doubles standing in as me, the Flame Emperor, keeping everyone in line. After almost half an hour of calm silence staring off into the open desert, my next plan of action comes together. I finally speak up to Ember and point toward the town. Want to see another project I'm working on? I'm curious to see the progress myself. I sense almost 400 humans in that village. If that's what you're talking about, then yes, I'm very interested. I get to my feet and look over to Ari, still hard at work training with his doubles, but he senses we're up to something, so he drains his core temporarily to speak. Go off to the town if you want. Don't let me hold you back. I just need a few more hours and I think I'll be able to break past this next plateau. I just need more practice. I'm confident enough to train in my main body, so leave me here and I'll meet you guys there once I'm too tired to train on. I know my limits. I give him a nod and look back toward the canyon. Keep an eye on the dungeons too. There's still 6 active breaks in there. If any monster overflow occurs, it'd be helpful if you could get rid of them before they escape too far. Also, my double should be getting back from Valor City in the near future with all our teammates. Bring them to the town if they arrive. You got it. Ember and I head off toward the town while Ari continues to train by the abyss. The closer we get, the more the bright lights of the town below begin to shine, and structures that were not previously in such good shape begin to come into my field of view. I use Conceal to create the elegant Flame Emperor appearance I left with, and put up my chi barrier, increasing the density considering the low amount I have left to use. Even with 20% of my base left, it is still more than enough to shield my aura. Ember suppresses his mana control as well, and we both touch down in the middle of town. We find ourselves standing in the middle of the main square. An enormous octagonal stone structure has been built around the fountain in the middle of the town with 8 doors and large windows that all lead into it from any side one approaches. It towers 3 stories high, is almost 25 meters in diameter, and looks to be built from very sturdy stone summoned and molded by earth magic. It's decorated and brightly lit up with orbs of light on its outsides and entrances. Upon closer inspection, I appraise that they're mana crystals imbued with my flash skill inside large glass containment casings. It's an interesting idea I was thinking of trying, but it seems my double already tested this theory and it works quite well. I make the motion to step inside the building because there is a very familiar mana reading waiting for me there. Once the door is opened, I'm greeted immediately by my body double rippling with black flames and wearing a mask. Unauthorized reproduction. This story has been taken without approval. Report sightings. He looks at me, then holds his gaze on Ember for much longer before speaking. I thought I'd be the one to show you a surprise, but it seems like we're both been very busy. I take it this is a perk of ranking up. I nod, and my double turns to let us inside for a short tour. Inside of the building, there's an even smaller octagon with 7 glass windows with slots to pay for goods and receive money for sold items. On the 8th wall, there's a sturdy locked door. Each of the stations is unmanned at the moment, but looks as if this place is being set up to run a large operation. The rest of the room is completely empty. Ember and my footsteps echo in the wide-open, well-lit halls, but I can picture its potential. I can see a future public gathering place filled with hunters, villagers, businessmen, tables, and bulletin boards with quests as we walk through. I speak up to my double once we make it to the center room. The beginning of a guild hall, and one that will be very busy it seems. I like it. My double unlocks the door into the center room. It's large and spacious enough for a team of up to 10 workers to work inside it without getting too cramped. But my attention turns to the spiral staircase leading upward. My double looks up too. Those floors are empty for now. The middle floor was planned to be sectioned off for offices while the top floor is left for you as a working study. The double's flames die down for a moment and he reaches into his item storage to pull out the small silver tablet that controls the underground lair, then hands it to me. I think doing this will explain things a lot faster than showing you around the place. As I take the tablet from my double, it points a finger at its forehead and instantly falls to the floor and begins to dissolve into pure mana. A rush of memories come back to me, and I relive the past few hours in an instant. From my double's point of view earlier today, I see the awestruck looks of the 20 grunts in the middle of the square as they see my body double descend from the sky after killing their leaders and taking on the 6 dark entities of unknown power. Next, the memories of my double forcing each of the higher-level grunts to drink the same elixir of suggestion that they fed to these slave workers. It's only right to give them a taste of their own medicine. Some of them resisted at first, but I gave them the option of death or taking another dose. All of them fell in line shortly after. It doesn't matter if they praised me for taking down their leaders and opening their eyes to the charade. They may have followed orders from me regardless. But each and every one of them participated in forcing innocents to work until their hands bled and minds broke. So they will face the same fate. Over the next few hours, I watched and ordered all of the grunts to collect and sort the valuable materials and goods and bring them to the center of town. Meanwhile, I managed to create a weaker version of the full restore potions using high-quality C-grade HP potions and imbuing them with my self-regeneration skill. The result of this craft is called a regeneration potion. It heals all minor wounds instantly and nullifies any toxic substances in the bloodstream. Many of the workers were restless and craving more of the original elixir when I found them due to its addictive nature, but after a single regeneration potion, every last one of them broke free from the curse. However, this doesn't mean they're fully healed. Many are mentally and physically exhausted from many weeks or even months of non-stop work and torture. I have no idea the extent of madness they've been through, so I just make it top priority to give them all stable food and shelter, then figure out their futures once they've recovered. One by one, I brought all of the groups ranging from 10 to 30 workers each into the town square. Many of the shops and structures near the center of the square have residential housing above them or nearby. I used access to the dungeons in the canyon to stack up on mattresses, pillows, blankets, necessary sanitary products, clean clothing, and higher quality food and water supplies. All in all, it only took about an hour to shop and cost under 100 gold total at the supermarkets back in Solara, Vice City, and even one back in my small hometown to get enough materials and not take too much from any one store. Considering the stash of gold and high-grade items left behind in the underground bunker, this is a small price to pay. I used my earth magic and crafting skills to make lighting fixtures throughout the center of the city and fixed all structural damages caused by my fights or the past dealings in the city before I came. Minor fixes, supplies, and item sorting, along with miscellaneous grunt work, are done by the 20-strong C-class rated slave drivers turned slaves themselves under my command. They are to report back to the middle of the town every 4 hours to give written reports and consume more elixir until I'm satisfied they've paid their price. Once this process started to reach its end, and many of the rescued workers found a place to call home for the night, I began working on constructing a base in the center of the town where all can come for information, hired work, and purchasing goods. The guild hall's outer layer of construction came to a stable point of my liking just as the sun began to set. Then my real body and ember arrived. My past memories stop here once my double kills itself in front of me. I let out a light gasp as I take in all this new knowledge rushing into me, then click the silver tablet to open a hatch in the floor leading down into the mana-shielded bunker below. It seems I've been very busy, but there is a lot more to do. Come on, let's begin the preparations. Chapter 459. I walk down the narrow spiral stairs into the mana-shielded basement but decide not to close the hatch above me. With my most recent boost in mana control, I'm able to get a better reading of this A-grade mana shielding. With all of my skills and mana control on full blast, I'm sure I could see through it now, but it's not worth the trouble. Leaving an opening allows me to use enemy detection and my all-seeing eye on a vast area around the town without having to stress my senses. Once I make it down to the bottom, the middle wall is up, making it feel like an empty white-walled room. I press the tablet setting to open the wall to reveal what's on the other side. The center table where the green and red armored gang leaders used to sit lies empty in the center of the rectangular half of the room. On the far wall, there are dozens of high C-grade and some B-grade items and materials lined up, and their stats noted down on sheets of paper. Beside these, I see piles of gold, silver, and bronze coins are sorted in large crates. Then lastly, in a pile of its own is the fractured black armor of the Dark Guards I fought earlier today. None of them give off any mana readings, they just look like black shattered junk metal. However, in a neat pile in front of the shredded-up armor is a small bowl with 5 glowing orbs inside that show up with Wraith's Essence Stone. Hidden passive ability. Reading with various mental strength buffs between 170 and 210% on each of them. Next to the damaged goods and black cores from the hearts of the Wraiths, there's a suit fully intact, and it's the one that was worn by the 7th-ranked Dark Guard. Even after death, the only readings I managed to see on this armor set say, "Access denied." Ember peruses the other items and closely inspects the mana shielding walls while I walk over to these artifacts. The closer I examine the armor set that's still intact, the more curious I get. Even using my craftsmanship skill to try and examine portions of the armor, or imbue it with skills of my own, the set doesn't give any extra readings other than access denied. I try to push my perception skill further, but all it shows me once maxed out is that it's a normal piece of metal. My best guess is the armor is similar to a blood-bonded weapon with a concealment perk. Once crafted and bonded with a user, it's worthless to everyone else that tries to manipulate it or put it on. However, I'm still optimistic that I can get some kind of data from it at a later date. So, I open up my item storage portal and let the entire armor set fall inside. For the sake of it, I let the trash sets of the lower-level wraiths fall into my storage too, but leave their cores for further use. I use telekinesis to lift the 5 dark orbs into the air above my hand, and activate my craftsmanship skill to get a better look at my options. The last Wraith Essence I merged with my cloak significantly raised its stats and added a hidden ability to it, so I see no better place to put the remainder of these cores as well. As I ponder this fact, the 5 cores that slowly spin around each other push me toward a new option on my craftsmanship window called Merge. Usually, items have maxed out in receiving new merging ingredients and imbued skills at around 3 to 4 power-up imbuements per craft. Some with higher material ratings can take more, and some with lower ratings take less. I already gave my cloak a few upgrades, and I'm not sure how many more it can take before it hits its max. However, with this merge setting and the fact that they're all the same or similar base item gives me the idea that I may be able to bypass this limit. I press merge, and the 5 orbs of energy fall toward each other in a flash of white light. The result floats in my hand and looks like a massive dark orb of mana but gives off an impressive reading that makes me grin. Greater Wraith's Essence Stone, plus 260% mental strength. Hidden passive ability. Might as well blood bond it while I'm at it. I whisper under my breath while opening up a gash in my wrist and pouring out blood into an empty glass bottle from one of the nearby piles of C-grade items. Then, I merge the new Essence Stone along with 8 ounces of my blood with my cloak to give it another massive upgrade. Cloak of Total Darkness, plus 179% mental strength, plus 155% agility, plus 75% perception. Hidden passive ability. Concealment attribute. If you spot this narrative on Amazon, know that it has been stolen. Report the violation. Cloak of Total Darkness, plus 270% mental strength, plus 198% agility, plus 130% perception. Blood bonded. Hidden passive ability. Concealment attribute. While instantly regenerating and healing the lost blood, I scroll through my newly upgraded status and see that in ranking up, I've gained access to 3 more item slots. I join Ember in appraising and sifting through the newly looted gear, but nothing strikes my fancy just yet. What comes to mind is the colossal clear stone in my inventory and the potential loot that may fall from the lightning wolf in my storage once I let it fully dissolve. These are 2 legitimate A-grade items that will make for worthy new gear to fill these slots. I just need to find sturdy enough A-grade materials that can handle the imbuement. I'm sure I'll discover some soon. With the interesting loot out of the way, and Ember beginning to lose interest in the bunker, I create a body double and turn to the crimson-haired form of the fire dragon. Getting bored already? He smiles and nods in response. Yes. Meeting your friend Ari was quite entertaining. However, right now, I feel my time is better spent sleeping, training, or fighting. I know you enjoy playing with these trinkets, but it doesn't give me the same rush. My double walks over to him, and I open my storage to transfer over my remaining black firestones as well as the isolation pod I've been charging up all this time. Then I speak up. Well, how about you and this double go check on my other double farming in the labyrinth? Take the firestones it farms and search out another rogue dungeon in the desert to store more energy into this pod and collapse the dungeon when you're done. Ember's grin and interest return, so I continue and motion for them to exit together and have their fun. I need a few more hours to work on a special crafting and construction project here, so get your fill of mana and dungeon destruction all you want. Even test your new skills out on the 39th floor if you please. Just be sure to come back in less than 4 or 5 hours. That's when the arena event should be finishing up in Valor City. If my double and teammates aren't back by then, we're gonna have to go and get them ourselves. The two of them agree to my point and walk toward the exit. Ember conceals his mana presence entirely, and my double uses stealth to cover its overwhelming mana control aura. Then a moment later, I'm left in the empty silence of the underground bunker. My vision turns to the piles of gold, silver, and bronze coins. I get to work and begin counting them with my all-seeing eye and mana manipulation. By letting raw mana seep into each of the crates and imbuing each coin with a small amount of energy, I can feel each individual one and get an instant tally. I find 318 gold coins, 2,905 silver coins, and 13,449 bronze coins. All in all, it's a hidden fortune, but after my haul of over 65 platinum bars from the arena back in Valor City, I've become quite desensitized to these riches. All of the crates of coins here don't even amount to a fraction of what I managed to earn in just a few days of fighting. However, it's more than enough to begin my plan. I pull out a massive pile of mana crystals from my farming earlier today to use as fuel for these crafts and one by one use small amounts of fire magic, earth magic, and mana manipulation to reshape the front and back marking on many of these coins. On one side, I craft the simple emblem of fire, and on the other side, the silhouette of a dragon. After each molten craft is complete, I imbue each coin with my body hardening skill, making the coins as unbreakable as my legendary grade body hardening backed by the mana control of a level 1000 hunter. They look exactly the same, gold, silver, or bronze, but cannot be broken, damaged, or manipulated unless whoever is doing so has higher mana control than my own. To make sure no replicas can be made, I add a special item name to each one. Bronze Flame Emperor's coin, Silver Flame Emperor's coin, and Gold Flame Emperor's coin. In the hidden crafter's notes of each coin, I leave a simple 2-letter signature, FE. Unless a hunter with the mythic grade craftsmanship skill goes in and edits my notes, I'll be the only one able to see this. So, if by chance someone manages to create a similar coin with a similar name, it still has a hidden level of security beneath it. The process of imbuing and marking each coin goes by faster than I'd first planned. With careful precision and accuracy of my perception and movement speed skills, I'm capable of doing many coins at a time and many crafts per second. It takes just over 3 hours to finish up making 300 gold coins, 2,500 silver coins, and 10,000 bronze coins. There are 3,872 miscellaneous leftover coins remaining, but I place them aside in an unused pile. I want a clean number to start with to make sure I can keep track of things easier in the future. Once this task is complete, I sit back on one of the chairs at the table looking at my work with a satisfied sigh, carefully placing piles of the shimmering newly branded coins all into my item storage for safekeeping, along with the old miscellaneous coins too. My gaze hovers over all the C and B grade gear for a few moments. Then, I sense the presence of 20 grunts approaching the guild hall. Looks like it's time for their re-up. I grab a small crate of mind control elixir and activate my concealment disguise to cover my body in black flames in the shape of a suit. Then walk up the spiral stairs to meet with my new unpaid workers. As I close the hatch to the bunker and walk out the front door to see all 20 men mindlessly stare forward at me in a single file line, yet another odd feeling comes over me. The sensation of being watched hits my subconscious. Immediately I use my enemy detection skill along with a large burst of my all-seeing eye throughout the entire town to pinpoint where it's coming from. In my mind's eye, I get the picture of bright light blue glowing eyes staring at me from over half a kilometer away from the rooftop of one of the safe houses crafted to house the recovering innocent workers. I see the face of the young woman that was being controlled by Finn, the grunt with the bind ability. Her level and skill pop up from my appraisal skill showing LV 267 and Moonlight's gaze, confirming she's definitely the same woman as before when I first showed up in this town. Then, just as I finish my scan and turn to the direction she's watching me from, her eyes stop glowing blue, and she ducks down behind a pile of building materials on the rooftop. Chapter 460. I expand my all-seeing eye's visual range and watch the woman with the unique skill slip away back into one of the houses, quickly moving away from my gaze. The thought of flying over there and confronting her about her skill and why she was watching me crosses my mind, but it would make sense why she would be curious and want to see what the mysterious man in the flaming suit that took over their captor's operation is doing. That's what perception skills are for. She might as well use it if she can. It's not like I'm doing anything I don't want her or any of the others to see. So I'll leave her be. I do a quick scan of all the rescued workers in the surrounding safe houses and find that half are asleep, many are restless, and others are huddled together and talking to each other in small groups. Most of them have average basic skills like swordsmanship, dagger arts, and various speed or strength buffs, but a few have interesting unique skills, and even 3% or so have some kind of elemental ability. Everyone is very low level and won't be useful to me in the immediate future, but I'm looking forward to talking to each and every one of them once the sun rises tomorrow. Letting out a sigh, I deactivate my scanning senses and turn my attention back to the grunts. Now for you 20, I have some labor for you to do. Drink up, then follow me. We're building a road. I use telekinesis to give each of them very small vials of a highly potent bottle of elixir to drink, and they gulp them down without batting an eye and follow just as I ask. As we walk, I ask a few of them to search the looted warehouses we pass on the way to get 20 empty wooden carts because they'll be carrying a few things for me. Once we get to the edge of town where the stone road stops, we face in the direction of the canyon. There's a long and winding narrow pathway, only visible to my advanced eyesight in the dark of night. Even in daylight, it's not much of a path, so if I want this to be better for high-volume travel, I need to make it myself. I begin replicating the technique my body double used earlier to make the dimly glowing orbs of light that are fixed on every corner of the inner city. It's a combination of many kinds of magic. I use earth magic to lift small balls of sand up into the air, fire magic to turn them all into molten material, then a combination of wind and water magic to blow the molten sand into glass and cool it into a sphere shape that stays solid. Once this process is complete, I take a single high-grade mana crystal and place it inside. Then, imbue both the materials with my flash skill to make the mana crystal glow dimly. With the small output of light compared to my actual flash skill, the mana usage isn't immense, but the makeshift mana bulbs will run out of energy eventually. All I have to do to recharge them is feed the item another mana crystal, or imbue some of my own mana inside. It's a design in progress. I may come up with better lighting ideas in the future, but these are perfect for now. Once I make about 100 glowing orbs of light and set them neatly in the sand nearby, I turn to the 20 men behind me and give them another order. Follow behind me as I make this road. I pause, using my earth summoning skill again, and placing hundreds of kilograms worth of stone in the back of every one of the grunts' wooden carts. As I make the road, I need all of you to stress test it for me. There is going to be a lot of traffic on this path. I want to make sure it's ready. With a smirk, I float up into the air, carrying all 100 orbs of light around me using telekinesis. I activate my earth summoning skill again and begin creating a 5-meter wide stone pathway through the desert. Every 20 meters or so, I sculpt a stone pillar and place a glowing orb on top of it, using liquid stone to glue the bottom of each orb in place. The pillars are crafted on alternating sides and stand about 4 meters high. Behind me, I hear the heavy carts of the grunts creaking as they follow behind me all the way to the canyon's edge. I look down into the darkness and another idea sparks up in my mind. The same glass-blowing process is used to craft many more orbs of light while the grunts continue to make their way toward me. Once over 100 more orbs are created, the grunts finally make it to me and I give them another order. Turn around and walk the road again. Once you get to the town, turn around and come back. I want you to walk back and forth on this roadway until I tell you to stop. The moment they hear me, the group of mindless grunts turns around and begins their trek back with carts full of heavy stone. I lift the many orbs up in the air and begin building more winding pathways down into the canyon full of dungeons. This tale has been unlawfully lifted from Royal Road. Report any instances of this story if found elsewhere. Each one of the dungeons has a stone tablet crafted beside it by my double showing the loot drops, approximate level, and monster type beside every dungeon. I build pathways that end right before the entrance portal of each one, and light the way with more and more of the white orbs, illuminating the canyon. I'm sure these paths will be a little less traveled, but I still want to make them sturdy. They are roughly 2 meters wide, and orbs are placed on shorter stone pillars every 40 meters or so. The natural blue glow of the portals lights up the regions close to the dungeons themselves, so I don't need to use quite as many lights as I first thought. The only 7 dungeons I decide not to connect the pathway to are the 6 breaks for safety reasons, and the single B-grade dungeon that is very deep down in the canyon because I want to keep that one for myself away from prying eyes. Once finished connecting every single one, I contemplate telling the grunts to stop their mindless stress test so I can assess the damage, but decide against it because I have one more thing I'd like to check on. I slip inside one of the closest blue portals nearby, then dungeon walk back into the Vice City Labyrinth's 40th floor. Coming in on full alert with all my buffs activated, sword drawn, and chi flowing through it, I'm ready for anything. However, my worst-case scenario theories don't come true. I'm left in an empty dirt pit. All of the burn marks and holes blasted in the ground from my battle against the Lightning Wolf have completely disappeared and have automatically regenerated. However, the room feels unusually stagnant and cold, as if time has stopped and it's waiting for a trigger to be pulled. The odd sensation of transport magic lingers in the air, like it's about to activate, but something is stopping it from occurring. I scan the boss room and slowly walk around in circles trying to see if there's anything new I can find, then let out a sigh and open my item storage. It's about time I got this loot. I knew something was up with this floor. I'd like to find out what's going on here. I let the deceased wolf's body fall onto the dirt floor, and less than half a minute later, its mana begins to disperse into the boss room and dissolve. 4 objects are left behind in the creature's place. A large pink mana crystal about the size of my head is one of them, and a half-transparent yellow stone with large arcs of electricity coming off of it drops next to it of similar size. I open up a storage portal on the ground beneath the items and get a reading on the small black stone and large white tooth that fall inside next to the crystals. 40th floor boss identification core 0248. Wolf Guardian's Fong. Plus 265% mental strength. Plus 258% speed. Lightning attribute. As soon as they fall inside, the lingering feeling of transport magic in the air resumes, and I feel my body become enveloped in white light. Once the flash subsides, my vision goes black. My non-visual perception skills pick up a deep winding cave system with narrow tunnels, dripping water, and even large caverns, but I don't sense a single living being. My objective here isn't to stick around long. I just wanted to get the 40th floor trial completed and get access to teleport to the 41st floor whenever I wish. The instant I begin to activate my Dungeon Walker skill to leave, I feel something strong and sharp piercing through every layer of my mana shielding, chi barrier, and armored defenses to sink deep into my stomach with no warning at all. Even as the weapon comes out the other side of my body, I can't sense or see at all where it's come from. It doesn't matter. I dungeon walk back to the 40th floor less than 1/10 of a second later. I cough up blood while regenerating my wound and armor, trying to figure out what that was and where it came from. My appraisal and enemy detection skills were active, yet I didn't see the attack coming nor did I even get a glimpse of who sent it. I stand to my feet once fully healed, then look to the sky of the empty dirt pit. A huge countdown timer can be seen floating in the sky. 29:23:59:41. A 30-day cooldown timer, huh? Well, at least I have access to the higher floors. I dungeon walk back to the 39th, then 38th, then all the way through each layer between here and the 30th until I find my double farming away at mana crystals while it waits for the minotaurs to respawn. It transfers its inventory into my storage, and I kill it on the spot, creating another copy to go check out the 41st floor for me and see what it can find. Less than a second later, the memory of it teleporting into the darkness and being stabbed multiple times in the stomach, then decapitated, comes rushing back to me. I send another double and the same thing happens. I perform well over a dozen more tests, and no matter where I send the double into that boss room, I can never sense the enemy, and can never survive longer than a second to survey the landscape. Seems like I'm just not strong enough for whatever is up there. The 41st floor will have to wait for another day. Another copy is formed, and it goes back to farming mana crystals and waiting for the minotaurs to continue feeding my other double and emberstones for the isolation pod. Meanwhile, I dungeon walk back to the dungeon nearest to the canyon's exit and make my way back to the stone road to meet up with the grunts that continue their stress test on my stonework. I slowly hover above the grunts and watch them work for another hour. The eeriness of the 41st floor leaves the front of my mind as I become very satisfied with my new project's results. Midway through my process of assessing the grunts, I get the feeling of being watched by the same woman in the town, even from nearly 2 kilometers away. It's a far weaker feeling, but I'm impressed that at below level 300 she's able to sense me out this far. I don't mind that she's watching and let the tests continue. No cracks have formed in the roads, and the carts are able to be pulled very smoothly. The lighting fixtures are far enough to the sides of the roads that they don't impede travel, and they are bright enough that even in the dead of night the entire pathway is lit up completely. Eventually, Ari comes walking over from the abyss covered in sweat and grinning ear to ear. He waves me down and shouts out, "I did it! I mastered the demonic energy crescent. Just like the one you showed me this morning." I can tell he's very happy with his new power, but also he looks exhausted. I let down my flaming disguise to look more natural to show him my unconcealed face and reply, "That's good. I'm glad you achieved it without any major setbacks. I'll be waiting here conducting some tests throughout the night and staying on watch duty. Feel free to take a rest and look around the town until my double gets back with Dash." Once these words leave my mouth, I sense 6 figures appear out of thin air deep below the canyon. One of them is my double, and 2 of them show up as clear as day on my Rising Emperor's domain perk. I point downward into the dimly lit canyon as they all begin to make their way up. Never mind. Perfect timing. It seems our long-awaited guests have finally arrived. Abby, Maria, Fisher, Lydia, and Monk all walk up the stone pathway with confusing expressions on their faces. The emotions that pour off them are mixtures of fear, excitement, confusion, and anger. The first words I hear any of them say come from Maria's lips. "We barely got away. Jay, we need to prepare for battle. The Dark One knows we're here, and its guards are coming to declare war."